Welcome back to Beyond the Edit. Today we have a very special guest. It's Eden Porter, the other half of the Invisible Hand, a member of the Middle-Aged Mafia, and an all-round hilarious guy. He's probably the biggest Australian Survivor superfan we've ever had on the show. Now, you know that Eden likes to chat. He loves to tell a yarn, he's got a lot of interesting stories, and he's got a lot of interests. So I hope that you aren't surprised that this podcast goes for a wee bit longer than the other ones. I think it clocks in at around 2.5 hours. So strap yourselves in. It's a long one, but trust me, just trust me, okay? It's hilarious. I really, really laughed from the bottom of my guts in how funny Eden was. It's really touching at moments. Eden is quite vulnerable in terms of talking about how he was ripped out of the game that he loves. So stick around. Break it up into little bite-sized pieces if you need, but trust me, you don't want to miss a minute of this fantastic chat with my man, Eden Porter. Everyone, I've made it to episode 3. People, I'm still doing this. I haven't given up yet. And I've done Riri, I've done Garrick. I thought it was time for a bloody Titan. And who else should I get on if it's not for my man, Mr. Eden Porter? How are you, bro?
Hey, Mark, thank you so much for having me on, mate. This is fantastic. The first Titan to kick things off. This is fantastic. I couldn't ask for a better opportunity to talk with you all things, everything, all things life, really.
Well, that's the point, man. That's the point of this whole thing is that I've listened to pretty much every podcast that you've done, and you've gone through the nitty gritty of your game. That's cool. And you know what? If you haven't listened to them, go and listen to them. Go and listen to all the other podcasts of Eden talking about, you know, his great game. We will touch on Survivor. Obviously, that's what most people are probably listening here for. But we're going to go beyond Survivor. But just before we start, you may see that I'm wearing, if you're listening, you may not be able to see it, but I'm wearing my snuffed hat in honor of Simon Me. I just texted him and he's frothing it. And the reason I'm doing that is not because I want to look like a middle-aged dad. I'm not a dad, and I'm not even middle-aged. But it's because this time last year, poor old Eden got his not his hat snuffed, but he got his torch snuffed. Dude,
it's true, mate.
It's
been a year since since JLP got his old snuffer out and took me out of the game. And it's what a year it's been. Like it's come around quick again. And just to think that really everything that's happened in that space of time, from getting it snuffed to where we are now, is insane. The amount of things that have happened in life and everything like that. Like, it's so crazy. And now to think that there's going to be a new Survivor group coming up that's like, they're going to take over from us and pass the torch on to them. It's crazy to think.
That's so funny because part of the reason of me wanting to do this is the realization that I'm now in the alumni. I'm now in the alumni. We're both alumnus. This is incredible.
How crazy is it? Like coming from being a fan and then being the person that's like, oh, hey, and you message players and stuff like that, like, hey, how you going? Right. And you're just a fan. And now you've got people messaging you being like, oh my God, like, how'd you get on? And all this sort of stuff. And you've got past players being like, oh, I really loved what you did. And you have such great little chats with people and make all these connections. And it is this family of people that have had this crazy experience that only very, very few people get to have. And it really bonds people, no matter what season you're on, no matter what version, American, South African, UK, you've got this same bond. And it's just something you can talk about. It's so crazy to think about.
It is cool. Not only do people look up to you in stature, Eden, because you're bloody 8 foot tall, they are now looking up to you as the super fan titan of cinema and an elder statesman. It's pretty cool. I like that you gave a shout out to South Africa, because I haven't actually delved into the South African game yet, but I have been picking up some love from South Africa.
Oh, really?
Well, you should. It's cool.
There's some great seasons. There's some great seasons out there, and it's definitely worth checking out. Yeah,
I was a big fan of Survivor UK, and I know my man Doug. He's a bit, might be a listener. I don't know. I don't want to put him under pressure, but there's some good players in Survivor UK. So I'm going to have to try out Survivor South Africa. But it is really cool. It is really special. And another inspiration for this podcast was Kellen's. But Oh, my system is clean, Eden. I just did a computer scan. A little pop up.
My Trojan horse didn't make it into your system, Marky Mark.
Oh, were you trying? Were you trying to infiltrate my questions?
I've got my hacker. I've got my glasses. I'm in. Just halfway through.
You like distorting my face.
Yeah, the Matrix code starts going.
You're trying to put a mustache on my face.
Mate, everyone should have a good mustache.
That's question number 1, brother. It's mustache. Please explain.
Please explain the mustache. Well, it's actually.
Well, it's more about please explain. You know.
Please explain. No, it's actually really interesting because this is where you're talking to someone that's been trying out to get on Survivor forever, right? Yeah. And so there's a lot of these things that seem naturalistic and seem like, oh yeah, I just started growing a mustache and stuff like that. But a lot of them is very calculated.
A long con. It's a very long con.
It honestly,
waiting.
What honestly it is. So 2000s, I've never had a mustache my entire life. Never had a mo ever. I got another rejection letter from Amazing Race. And on the back of my last one from Survivor, and I was like, you know what, I've got to do? I've got to change things up. Yeah. I've got to stand out a bit more. I've got to just like sit in people's minds a bit more. So what can I do? I'm not going to shave my head. I'm not going to do all that craziness, but I could.
I've already got that taken.
Honestly, yeah, correct. I could like grow a mo. Like I could. This is something I could do. So that lockdown started, and so I grew a mo specifically to stand out more in auditions for these shows. And I was like, this is cool. So I grew the mo. Yeah, I grew the mo, and then I was like, this is great. And then what happened? And then
you just started doing the like mo swizzling your mustache, and you couldn't stop it.
But what ended up happening was then I got married. So all my wedding photos.
I like the priorities. It's like get on Survivor, got to get married. Nah, they've got to keep the look.
So, no, but honestly, now all my wedding photos, I have a mo. Then we had Phoenix. So Phoenix only knows me with a mo.
That's Eden's child, by the way.
Yeah, that's my little 2-year-old. He only knows me with a mo as well. So I have all these big life events sort of started to happen where I had the mo. And so then I just had to keep, like, I have to hold on to it now. And I will do that thing. I think I will eventually do that thing where you shave the mo off for the kid and the kid like freaks out because they're like, who's this guy? And Phoenix will be like, I don't know who this guy is. But if you look back through all my old posts, I've never had a mo before the year 2020.
Yeah, I did a scroll. It's been there for a while. It's a bit of an institution now.
Now it's part of my vibe. Now.
So now you're stuck with it. Now you've been on TV, and you'll be like Clark Kent. You know, if you shave the mo, they'll be like, "How do we tell? How can we tell? It's Eden. He's got no moustache."
Then what you do? Then you shave it off, and then I start applying as a newbie to Survivor. Survivor clean shaven guy. Yeah, exactly. Gabriel from one of the early seasons actually was a contestant that got on in American Survivor, and he started auditioning again years later, and he got all the way through, and he got near the end, and he was like, and they're like, hang on, and he's like, oh yeah, I played the show before, and they're like, well, you can't. He got down to final casting, and they're like, you can't do this, mate. He's like, oh okay, sorry, my bad.
That's on you. Like Jeff, that's showing how long Jeff Probst has been doing this. He can't remember. I actually think I saw an interview with Probst, and someone asked him, do you remember every Survivor player that's ever played? And he's like, man, no, we're up to 45 seasons. No. Can you imagine walking up to JLP in the street and he goes, I like your mustache, son. I don't know who you are. And you're like, JLP, we had a moment.
You're breaking my heart, JLP. You're breaking my heart here, mate. We had a connection. Outrageous. Nah, I failed to believe that, Mark. I think JLP would remember every single person. He's my boy.
I'm on the other end of that spectrum. I don't think he knew half of us when we were out there.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh, too funny. I do love JLP. I do think that you had a bit of a special connection with JLP, which is, I mean, I wasn't jealous of it. I think you earned it, so that was cool.
We had some good chats during some of those longer challenges.
Did you get the first question on the mat? I think you might have. The Nintendo.
I didn't get the first one. I got.
Was it me? Who was first?
I didn't get the first one. I got like the second or third one.
Yeah,
because I remember.
Do you want to say what he said? I remember what he said.
Yeah.
Okay, should we reenact it? Hey, you tall guy, you look like the biggest Survivor fan of all time. Check out my
He
awesome
said,
biceps.
he said,
What
he
are
said,
you doing?
he said, you haven't stopped smiling since you
That's
walked
it.
out here. He's
That's
like,
it.
you are looking around. You must be one of the biggest fans we've ever had on. And I was like, well, thanks for blowing up my game, JLP.
Yeah.
Actually, wasn't going to tell
Like, give the
everyone that I'm
answer.
the
Give
biggest
the
fan.
answer
Yeah,
because I really
yeah.
like the answer.
Well, it was, yeah. The thing was, I had to embrace it at that point because in my head,
Yeah.
I actually wasn't going to go out there and be
Mhm.
like, I'm a big fan. I've been trying forever because that can put a target on your back. But
Mhm.
in that moment, I think it was too hard to hide, and he'd put it out there,
Yeah.
and I was just like, yeah, you know what? This is a dream. This is literally a dream come true.
No,
I'm
no, no.
looking
But
around, and I'm like,
but you also said you said oh, this is a dream. You know what I feel like? I feel like it's Christmas morning and I've
yeah,
just got my present and I'm opening up my present and I've got a Nintendo 64 and I can't wait to plug it in and start playing. I was like,
yeah.
bro, this dude is cooking. He is cooking.
You
This
like
is
that, did
so
you?
good.
Yeah.
I really, really liked it. Also because
That's-
I never had a Nintendo 64. I always wanted a
Oh,
Nintendo
Mark,
64. I bought my own PlayStation 1. And I
was that your
had
first
the
console?
no, well, my granddad bought me a bootleg Sega Mega Drive from Hong Kong back in the
Oh my god,
90s, and I
so
just
good.
pumped that. There was one game where you had to turn. There was one cartridge with about 6 different games, and you had to turn on and off, on and off, on and off to switch through the games. It was all totally bootlegged.
That is so
Um,
good.
I don't think as well that my parents consented to this. And so it was the ultimate granddad move.
That
Came back
is
from an overseas trip. He's like, here you go, kids. Here's a Sega Mega Drive tool. You can waste all your time at and get square eyes. And my parents are looking at him going,
they would have
we are going to
hated
take
that.
you out the back. I'm going to get that whip and I'm going to give you 10 lashings.
Funny, it's just the grandparents buying like the height
I
of
know.
technology at the time. Like, how funny is that? That's so
The
great, mate.
dude, the dude's probably
We
just
had
come back
games.
from Hong Kong, where he's probably like been looking around, going, he's probably spent his whole life in rural parts of Queensland, and he's gone to Hong Kong, seen the flashing lights. He's like, "What is this? I don't even know what this is, but I think the kids will like it."
Man, we had a Super Nintendo. We had the Super Nintendo, the
Oh,
SNES. That was like
oh,
Super Mario
Alex the
World on
kid,
that.
did
Oh,
Alex the kid?
and no,
Was that
Alex
built
Kidd
in?
was on Sega. So we did have a Sega,
Oh,
like an
okay,
original
that was
Sega. That
Master
was Alex
System.
Kidd. Yeah, Alex Kidd in Miracle World, Mark. It was so
Jeez.
good. Yeah. And there was Wonder Boy as well. There was old Wonder Boy and
Yes.
Fantasy Star and Fantasy
Oh, never had
Zone.
that one. Never had that
Mate,
one.
oh, so many good games. And then then there was the SNES, and then it went on to the PlayStation. Then there was the 64. Then
Yeah,
there was the
GoldenEye.
Xbox. Oh, GoldenEye and 64. 'Cause 64 was like
Who
the
were you,
business.
Jaws? Did you play Jaws, or were you allowed to
Yeah, it
play
was like
Jaws?
Jaws versus Odd Job. Like Josh was Odd Job. I was Jaws. Slappers only, Mark. Slappers only. Like,
Yeah. I
so good.
feel like anyone listening to this is really like a millennial bloke, and if you're not,
This is so good. Well, do you, Mark? Actually, interesting fact. Do you know GoldenEye, the
yeah,
multiplayer, which became the thing that everyone played,
yeah,
was actually added.
greatest pause music of all time.
Oh, all time,
Yeah,
Mark.
yeah.
But that was added at the last minute by this dev team who were just using it to test out things that they'd done in the game, and they'd made like this little mode, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is cool. We just test out some things on it," and they said, "Oh look, we might just ship it with that as well. We'll just put that in
No.
as a little add-on," and it came at the last minute, and it was and it's the legacy of that game is the
Oh my
4-player
goodness.
split screen that
Yeah.
you're like, and you screen watching. I hate screen watching, mate. You
Oh,
can't screen watch, Mark. So
yeah.
funny.
I always remember when I pick up a Glock. I was like, not the Glock. I want a better
Yeah.
gun. There's too many Glocks.
The clocks are terrible. Oh, that's so good. So
I like
good.
it. I like this is peak beyond the edit. This is exactly what we want. This is what the people have come for.
This is what the people want.
Hit us up if you want to hang out and play Nintendo 64. Me and Eden.
I'm there, mate.
If you're half decent, we'll have to make it happen.
Well, mate, I'm still playing games. I've never grown up, Mark. I'm still playing Dota 2. I'm playing like this. Mate, I've clocked a lot of hours.
I never played
of that.
Dota. Is
Health.
that Dungeons and Dragons or not? Dota.
No,
That is
no.
no. What's Dota?
No. Dota's like a mod from World of Warcraft 3 that became its own game. It's like a MOBA. It's a time sink. I'll tell you that much, Mark. I'll tell you that much for free. And it's one of those games that the there's this tiny slither of actually having a good time. It's either you smash them and it's terrible, or you get smashed. But sometimes, Mark, there's this illusion of joy that the game gives you, and it
sounds like Survivor, mate. When you're a player, I look back at my time. I'm like, did I have fun? I had fun in bits.
There's a tiny slither of fun. Yeah, exactly. True.
Dude, all right, let's I'm having a good time. Let's keep it rolling.
Yeah, let's do it.
I want to okay, I love first impressions. I love first impressions because it's so interesting to see what people you don't judge a book by its cover, but you just analyze. You're taking in information, you're building hypotheses. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
So for you were wearing, my first time we're on that big boat doing that filming of the boat sequence before the game started, and you're wearing a bloody Seinfeld shirt. I'm like,
Yes.
oh yes, give me that Seinfeld. And I thought that you were a comedian. And then you told me that you're a cinema manager, and I was like, oh, that's disappointing. But because I was hoping you're a comedian, but it turns out you're a freaking comedian as well. You're in comedy. Yes. So give us we're going to get to cinema because I do also love that you're a cinema manager. But let's start with comedy. Are you a comedian? What do you do?
Well, okay. So the long and short of it is, Marky Mark. So I did my Bachelor of Performing Arts at Monash. So I did that for 3 years when I got out of school.
Did you have any overlap with any other Survivor players during that time?
I did. Sam Gash was the year below me at
Incredible,
which was really funny. So there's Monash University alumni. We've got our Survivor reps. That's really good.
Yeah.
And then from that point on, I just had done a lot of acting, like done short films, a couple of I did this I Love You Too. And it had it's this Aussie film, right? I was like mechanic number 1 or whatever. But I got to do a scene with Peter Dinklage.
Oh, right? Okay.
And because he was in the film, and it was funny. He was reading. We were waiting to do our scene, and we were just sitting in a little green room. Peter Dinklage was chatting to him, and he was reading Game of Thrones at the time.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And this is before all of this happened, right? And I was like, "Oh, what are you reading there?" And he's like, "Oh, they've put me up for this fantasy role. Like, I never get like normal roles anymore. I just get like, oh, you're an elf, or you're in Dungeons and Dragons, or you're in all this stuff. Like, I just want to play like a normal guy." And that's why I've done this film, this Aussie film, because I get to play a normal guy in it. And I was like, oh, cool. And I was like, oh, I wonder if the Game of Thrones thing will end up being big. And he's like, yeah, look. He goes, probably not. Who knows? And lo and behold, Mark,
he was hanging out to just be like a regular misogynist on an Australian TV show and Nick in it.
So that was fun. Mate, it's so funny. So then what I started doing, I've always loved comedy, always been a big fan of it, watched a lot of comedy. And so I started performing and writing sort of my own comedy, and then did a few shows.
Well, how old are you when you're starting? I want to get a bit of a time sense.
So this is like 23, 24. Yeah. So this is around that age, right?
2020. Oh, you're 23. Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So fairly young still. Yeah.
Yes. Fairly young. Stars in my eyes. Gonna be big. And so then literally we just start chipping away. And then a couple of years later, me and my brother decide, you know what? Let's start like a comedy troupe together. Like, let's start and do a show, our own show, not part of a big ensemble. It's just me and him. And so we start Game Boys Comedy. So me and my brother, we call ourselves Game Boys. And we start doing the Comedy Festival, the Melbourne Comedy Festival, and the Melbourne Fringe Festival, like every single year for about 12 years straight. So we create a new show. And what we do is, it's funny because you can, as a comedian, usually people gig. They like go out every weekend, every weeknight, and they do a bunch of shows.
On their material.
But me and Josh we'd go like, you know what? We're just going to write a new show for the next year, and we'll just sit at home and we'll just write it together, and then we'll do the big show, because we both had other things happening in our lives.
Yeah.
And so we'd go, but then the festival would come and we'd go nuts. We'd be flyering in front of town hall. We'd be like, come down, like check us out, rah. And we really work in the paper. But you can see like these are a bunch of the shows we've had.
Oh, nice. Yeah. In the background, if you're listening, there's Eden is pointing at a beautiful series of really cool posters of Game Boys comedy.
We've got a really good poster design that's come to the table. We've had Apartmenocalypse, Game Boys. We've had Game Boys Free to Play, Clash Battle, which was the actual title, is Clash Battle Warlords, Age of Candy Robots, Legend Kingdom Saga. It was like one of the longest titles they've ever had in the Comedy Fest. Then we
Dude,
had Game
I
Boys.
love the Flaming Lips, and it sounds kind of like Flaming Lips adjacent. So I'm
There
very
you go.
impressed.
We did one about esports, like the worldwide
Oh
of
yeah.
esports. And it was like if video games had taken over the Olympics. And we did all these events like speed solitaire and GoldenEye fencing and all this sort of fun stuff. So it's all like sketches, like comedy sketches. But then we did a show called Game Boy's Cinematic Universe, which was we
Mhm.
made our own fake theme park, like a movie
Okay.
studio theme park. And it was a
Jeez.
backstage tour. And so the whole show is going to all the different backlots with the audience, and it's like,
Right.
and they interact with us, and we get them up on stage. Like one of them becomes a Foley artist, and we started inputting all this really awesome tech to the background of it. So we had a screen on stage with us, and we'd interact with the screen and all this sort of stuff. And then we did a show we did called Escape the Megaverse, right? And it's sort of about
This
AI.
is the recent one, right? This is the recent one.
And we actually won the Green Room Award for Best Independent Ensemble, including our tech team. And it was really good. It was a good show. We really enjoyed it. So we've had some fun.
I didn't get to go to it because it was in Melbourne and I was busy and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, Eileen came down.
Eileen came down. Others were there. And
Kirby saw it. Yeah.
Well, geez, look, the list goes on. But I can, but let me say, independent of any interference with Eden, Eileen and I talk a lot, and she called me up and she said, "Ma, Eden's show is actually super funny. It's really, really good."
With a hint of surprise. Yeah.
No. I mean, look, the surprise level, who knows where it was at, but she couldn't shut up about it, dude. And it was just like between independent of you, she was just saying, "Mark, is hilarious," and she was so impressed with the technology. She thought it was incredible. And I suppose when you were talking about the backstage tour and the Escape the Megaverse. Is that right? Escape the Escape. Yeah. It does sound very original. Like most people potentially when you're 23 years old, thinking about going into comedy, you are thinking Seinfeld. You're just going to rip off. Oh, what's the thing about
what's
podcasts?
The deal with,
what's the deal with Game Boy? What's the deal with 1964? Not you, mate. You decided to do backstage tours of movies. That's pretty original. Is it you? Who's the lead? Who's the lead creator? Is it you, your brother? Equal?
No, we're both key. We're both key components.
Who's Larry? Who's Larry David?
There's no straight man. So there's no Deadwood. But it's like our tech that we got on board, like he became a big part of the show, as well, creating and designing everything for us. And it really became this sort of situation, through osmosis. Like we would just talk and things would come out, and if you make each other laugh, that's a good sign that this is like we're on a good track. It's funny, I'm actually doing a panel on it in down at the Murray River Writers Festival next week.
Nice.
About writing stand-up comedy and live comedy performance and stuff like that. So it is really interesting how things sort of do come about, and how much you've just got to, like, it isn't just, you just stand up there and you just talk and it's just funny and it just works. You've got to think about every single thing, every single word, every single turn, every single pause, every single thing. Like it all has a meaning, and things set up other things, and like it just works like that. There's a lot going in on the back end that you don't probably see.
Dude, you were talking about doing it for 12 years or whatever. That's a long, that book by Malcolm Gladwell out. Oh, geez. I forgot what it's called. Anyway, you got to do 10,000 hours. He reckons you got to do 10,000 hours in order to be
good at something.
Oh my goodness. I cannot believe I forgot the name of that book. It's all good. You got to do 10,000 hours in order to get great at something. If you've been doing it for 12 years, you will learn. There's nothing like experience in order to learn. And I think, I'm sure, did you bomb? Like, how hard have you bombed? Or have you
everyone's bombed. There's been audiences like that just don't get. We've done audiences of like 5 people, 4 people. We're like, what's the least amount of people that we can do a show with? Because we do audience participation. And
you're going to get someone up 3 times.
You can't go, mate, do you want to get up again? Mate, do you want to get up again? Mate, do you want to get up again? And it just doesn't work. It's like basically the person's like, why am I paying for this? I am the show. Like, you should be paying me at
You're
this
like,
point.
it's like tonight
So
we've got our special, and it seems to feature the same person over
guy.
and over and over again. Oh,
So
no.
it is funny that like you do shows and
Mm,
the audience are just not getting it, and you give it their
mm,
all, but you've got to keep the energy up, and you've got to give the best you can. But our we do sort of nostalgia stuff. We
yeah,
do like 90s. So there are some people that just don't, it doesn't quite click with.
yeah,
And the style is like it's gags and it's like little sketches and things like that. So if people are coming in thinking, oh, there's going to be a stand-up routine, someone's going to stand there and tell jokes
mm,
at me for 50 minutes, it's not
yeah,
that at all.
right.
So there are people that do. We've never had someone like literally get up and walk out halfway through, because if anything we do, it is quite basically we make everyone feel good, and even if you don't get the references, we're on to another reference, and you basically,
Keep
a
them
lot of
going.
people have given us the feedback that
Yeah.
they enjoy the show because me and Josh are obviously enjoying ourselves on stage, and they feed
They're
off
like
that
watching.
enjoyment.
They're watching you having fun, and they go, "Well, that sounds pretty good, even if I don't get it."
And they go, I don't get half your references, but you guys like enjoying there and like obviously being engaged and being in the moment means like so much, and it actually
Yeah.
really translates. So it's interesting. It's an interesting. But the thing is, I never did the thing that most comedians do. If you want to really, if it wants to become a thing, right,
Hmm.
you need to quit your job and you need to
And
go
commit.
100% all in, commit. You need to gig every night. You need to be poor for 10 years. You need to grind. You
Yeah.
need to do that. And I was never willing. Like, I liked going on overseas holidays. I liked
Yeah.
traveling. I liked doing stuff. I needed money. Like, I always wanted to hold the River Lee in my back
Hmm.
pocket to be like, look,
Hmm.
I'm just going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep doing this. And so, and there's the regret there that I never fully committed, because maybe I never fully believed in myself that it could be a viable career, because
Mm.
there are plenty of people that, well, plenty, 99% of people
Fail.
just scrape by. Like they just
Yeah.
scrape by, and then they just end up going like, oh yeah, look, it didn't work out. But that's 10 years later, and then you're in your 30s, and you're like, wow,
Yeah.
okay. So there was definitely that, and I probably had a bit of that fear in me.
Mm.
But at the same time, like I loved working at the cinema, and that working at the cinema allowed me to have so many awesome overseas adventures over the years, like
Yeah.
that I would not have been able to do. That really changed me as a person,
Mm.
and I grew a lot doing a lot of those big trips. So I wouldn't have had
Mm.
that opportunity otherwise. So I try and always weigh things up like that in my
Yeah.
head. Mm.
Dude, the whole I'm all about living your dream, and we both went and played Survivor, so
Yeah,
mate, that's a pretty big dream to tick.
tick.
I do also, like I hear what you're saying. Maybe I should have, thrown it all away, bartended, and then, who
Mm.
knows, you could be the new, I don't know. Well, I was going to say Lizzie Who. I really like Lizzie Who, but she's actually the worst example because she had an entire career and then
Yeah,
was coming in at a later date.
the date.
I don't
Yeah.
know, Will Anderson. I've listened to Will Anderson. The hustle and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, but at the
Oh,
same time, you've got a good balance. You've got a good mix, and it's a
yeah.
passion. Like it's a passion that you haven't let go. And look at those posters on the wall, man. You've
Yeah.
created something in your life, as well as having a job and now raising a family, and going
Yeah.
on Survivor. So mate, what would you may not have got on Survivor if you committed to
This
the
is
comedic
true.
bit.
This is very true. This is very true, Marky Mark.
You know
Or
what
it
you were
may have
saying
gotten earlier. They would have gone like, "Hey, let's get this
Yeah.
failed comedian on."
Let's go with the former. You know what you were saying before about working and delivering and trying your hardest and people not laughing. It reminded me of a few. I'm trying to like draw parallels with Survivor at a meta level in the metaverse, and and it's when you're trying to work on a bit in a confessional and it's just not landing.
It's not working. It's just not working. It's just not working.
That didn't
It
happen
is.
for you. I feel like you nailed all of yours. I really struggle with breaking out of officialdom, working in a
Mm,
government for over
that would
10
have been
years.
hard.
Even though I've always been an outgoing person at a dinner party, I'm cracking jokes, wisecracking away. But then sitting down in front of a camera, you're wearing your jacket. It's really hard to break out of
Yeah.
officialdom mode and let loose. I don't think I ever really did to my fullest extent apart from when the game was going absolutely nuts. But I think you did really well. I think you did really well in the confessionals, and
I
you
knew
clearly
I knew
put the
that would
time and
be
effort into thinking about it as well, which paid off.
I it was a part of my game that I wanted to excel at, and I knew I would be good at because of my training and because of how I approach the game. And so it was a part that I would always do a confessional, and
Yeah.
I'd be like, guys, and they'd be like, dude, like really good. I'm like, do you need anything different? Do you want anything different? They'd be like, no, we got a lot. We got a lot. Trust me. And I was like, okay, cool. Just let me know if you want to like do it again. They're like, no, it's good. So that was always fun. That was I
I'm gonna
love
come
doing
to.
confessionals.
Oh, that's so good. I thought I was crushing it, but I don't think I was. I was an amateur comedian.
It is funny because you are in your little world and you don't know. Like you don't know what other people are doing in their confessionals. You don't know
Yeah.
how much they're like, oh, this, and
Yeah.
blah, blah, or whether they're just very like, this is the game, this is what I'm doing, I'm going to destroy everyone. Like
Yeah.
it's one part of the game that you just don't see until you get off the island and watch it on TV. It's funny.
And I suppose as well, it's about how confident are you in your game? Because if you, I don't know, I feel like I even remember at the start when we were running the show, they were trying to get me to say really bolshy things, and I was not doing it because I'm still hedging my bets, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
They
the
want
thing.
that certainty. They want those big lines. They want that. And if they
I was
use
giving
it, they
them,
use it. Yeah.
yeah, I know. I think I was nervous at the start in terms of falling on my face. Let's come. I want to get to Survivor a little
Yeah.
bit later, but
Keep
let's have
going, mate.
fun with let's have fun with some other things. I do have no. That's the problem with the video. They can see me looking at my notes. This is all
It's all
completely
good.
off the cuff. It's all off the cuff. All right, cinemas.
Love them.
When I think of cinemas, I think of weird and wacky activity. Let's not go into all the detail, but I'm thinking of first dates. Thinking late. I'm thinking. What's the Robert De Niro movie? He's in like the late night cinema. You know, like late night cinema in New York. Taxi Driver. Is
Yeah.
that the one?
Taxi
He goes
Driver
and
is where he
like,
goes to
yeah,
the dodgy sessions. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's
yeah.
one way.
So, I mean, I don't know if they have them in Australia, but who knows? What are some
No.
of the wacky things? So you manage a bloody shit ton of cinemas in Victoria. You must have seen some wacky things. You're managing situations. What are some crazy things that have happened in a cinema under
So
your watch?
Mark, I've been working for Village Cinemas for yonks. Like I started there straight out of high school, and
Yeah.
I loved every moment of it, and I'm still there to this day. And so I've managed a lot of sites, some crazy things. So obviously, a lot of sexy time. You end up interrupt people and stuff like that. You get people. You're walking up with your little torch. You're like, "You guys are right." The guy's got his shirt off, and he's like, "Yep." And I'm like, "Cool, thank you very much." But
Oh,
I remember
you just drive on by? You don't
you
investigate?
give them you're like, "Come on, guys. Like, come on."
Oh, a little click, click,
Like,
click, click.
you do like, it's not the time of the place, mate. But what's crazy, like, there are some gross things that I won't
Mhm.
gross you out with,
Yeah,
like
no gross
some
ads.
pretty gross stuff. But I tell you one thing that I was cleaning a cinema. I was cleaning a
Yeah.
cinema one time, and I'm like, I saw what on the ground, what I thought was some of those lolly fake teeth. And
Oh,
I'm
okay.
like "Oh, there's some lolly fake teeth." And I go to pick them up to throw them out. They're not fake, Mark. They're someone's real teeth. And
Were they at the front? They were at the
who was
front row probably because their vision wasn't probably good enough to be able to see the front.
talk about a jaw-dropping cinema experience, like literally. And I'm wondering who is leaving the cinema with their gums just being like, "Yeah, I've got everything. Wallet, phone, yep, leaving
Good
out. Yeah,
times
we've
have
got your
been
teeth,
had
mate."
all round.
So that stayed in our lost property for a while. Ghost
Did
stories,
they
a lot
come
of
and claim?
ghosts.
Was like a really shameful old man?
Old man coming in like this. No, there
I
wasn't.
think I know why you're coming in, buddy.
So ghost stories, we've had a lot of crazy ghost stories. I remember we
Ghost
did
stories.
we did a few ghost stories sessions out on the island. When we
did.
a couple of late nights where I told some of the old ghost stories. There was one crazy thing that happened at one of our sites where we had because we have to practice things like active shooter drills now and things like that.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty wild. And we did have an incident where, and this is full on,
Yeah.
Mark, but there was someone that came through the foyer And some people reported they looked like, oh, this guy had something under his jacket. And then people were like, oh,
Was it
okay.
Garrick reporting it? Was he? It was
No,
Garrick.
it was not. It was not.
You
Garrick.
employed Garrick.
It was not.
This
It was
person's
not.
dodgy.
And so then they ended up going into the cinema,
Yeah.
and they sat down to watch the film. And there's other people in there, and some people came out of the cinema and said, some guy looks like he's got a gun in the cinema.
Oh.
And we're like, oh, wow, okay, this is full on. So we're obviously calling the police, and the police is telling us, don't let anyone in or out of the cinema. Don't make a big deal. Don't stop the session. Don't anything. Then people in the cinema start messaging people being like, hey, can you come pick me up? Some guy's really weird in the cinema. And so we've got parents starting to arrive, being like, I've got to go get my kid out and everything like this.
So where are you in this situation?
This is all managing. Yeah. So then the police arrive, and then the SWAT team police arrive.
Ooh, right.
And
leather.
They are literally saying, like, holding people back, saying, you cannot enter the cinema. We cannot escalate this situation. Like, we've got to do it. And so the police officers, one goes down one side and one goes down the other side. And this police officer like creeps along and jumps and like tackles this dude to the floor. Then a patron 2 seats behind gets up and starts punching the police officer in the head. Oh. And we're like, what is going on? And then the other police officer jumps on him. The other person jumps on him. It ends up being the gentleman had a fake replica gun that looked exactly like a real gun. And he was with his parents.
I like that you called him a gentleman.
Yeah, well, yeah. His parents were there sitting sort of away from him. And they thought someone was attacking their son. And so they jumped on the police officer and things like that. And it turned out to be like fine. But I'm telling you, like, it was the most intense situation. Like,
oh my goodness.
Like ever. It was absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. And the police did an amazing job. But it was, there's been some crazy things. And I'm talking like we've had floods, we've had fires, we've had cinemas burn, we've had like we've had to do like full shutdown. We had one woman that they went home and they turned off the cinema, they turned off everything, and they locked the site. And the woman was in the toilet by herself.
Oh no!
And all the lights went out, went completely black. And they didn't. What you meant to do? You meant to check, do one final check of all the toilets.
One last sweep.
One last sweep, and they didn't do it. And they just sort of yelled out like locking up, and they left. And this woman in pitch blackness like got on the ground and crawled like along the ground. Then she got to the front doors, and the front doors were locked.
She was locked in. It's like night at the museum.
It is. Nothing came alive. And then she ended up calling the police, and the police came down there, and the police were like, "Just go out one of the fire exits. Like in the cinema, you can get to one of the fire exits." So she went all the way down to a fire exit, and she started, but she was pulling it instead of pushing it. She was like pulling it, and she like came back. She's like, "I can't get out. I can't get out." By this time, all the security alarms had gone off, and manager came down, let her out, and she was so like freaked out by the experience, being pitch black cinema all by herself. So we gave her some, we like helped her out and everything, but she was like, I was praying to God and God helped me and all this sort of stuff. It was
a spiritual moment.
Wild. It was a spiritual moment, Mark. It was a spiritual moment. But yeah, there's been some crazy things that have happened in the cinemas over the years.
Oh, you were talking before about disasters and floods, and I just watched the reboot of Twisters. And I was thinking,
that, mate?
Well, yeah. Okay. What's his name?
I tell you what.
Oh, you liked it?
What?
Okay,
no. I tell you what you do. In Melbourne, you go to Century City, and we have a thing called 4DX, right? And the seats move, and it is the cinematic experience of the year. So you're in the cinema
specifically, or just
dude, there's been articles. The Guardian's written an article. It's doing better numbers. Its box office it's been out for a while now. Its box office usually, like a usual film, it just decreases the longer it's out. This is starting to spike because of 4DX, because it is so wide. There's a scene. If this is spoiler alert for people that is going to see Twisters, but there's a scene where they're in a cinema, and the
that's it.
Twisters come after them, right? So you're in 4DX and your chair's moving as the chairs are being sucked out of the cinema. It's pretty great. It's pretty fun. It's really
I thought people only went to watch Twisters because of that Glenn guy, like the male equivalent of
Powell.
Sydney Sweeney. Yeah, Glenn Powell. It was
He's
Sydney,
pretty good,
him
mate.
and Sydney Sweeney. They're like the hot things right now. That's why I thought that was popular. But no, I'm wrong. It's obviously the 4DX. You know.
I was upset there was no Helen Hunt cameo. You
Oh
needed it. I
yeah,
liked the original one. Bill Paxton, obviously, rest in peace, Bill Paxton. We love
yeah.
Bill Paxton. But they should have got Helen Hunt in there at some point. Do you know the guy in it? Do you know the guy in it that's like the baddie? He's like the helper. He's
Yes,
got the hat
yeah.
on and stuff like that. He's the new
The
Superman.
corporate stooge.
Yeah, he's the new Superman. He got cast as the new Superman.
Oh,
That guy. Yeah,
he looks Clark Kenty. Yeah.
yeah, Clark Kenty. Yeah, love it, love it.
Second Clark Kent reference for the podcast.
Mm.
All right. Yeah. Well, look, dude. I think some people may have mocked the fact that you're a Titan. I never mocked it. You're a Titan.
I think it was a long. Honestly, Mark, I think it was a long bow to string. Like,
dude, you've
Titan
managed multiple cinemas geographically dispersed for a long period of time with people with fake weapons. Tell me someone on the actually, yeah. Well, I spoke to Rihanna and she was a rebel, so hers didn't make any sense. So I think you're well and truly a Titan. Just for
it was
that
actually
story.
it was funny. It's because I wasn't cast because I didn't fit the theme. Because Channel 10 was like, this guy doesn't fit the theme. He doesn't fit the theme. He's not a Titan. He's not a rebel. And I agree.
His
agree.
mustache isn't good enough. If his mustache was bigger, he could have been a Titan of mustachios.
If he had a goatee, he could have been a rebel. A rebel of facial hair. Yeah, love it.
That's how Shannon Knoll got cast for Australian Idol #1. It was the Flavor Saver. That's how
it
he
was
got
the
on.
flavor.
It wasn't his
saver.
voice.
Not at all. Not at all.
All right. So you're going on a hot date with your wife, Rachel. Shout out, Rachel.
Shout out, Rachel.
You look at the price of the candy bar, bro. Inflation. It's a bitch. It's taken off. What do you buy at the candy bar? What are you splashing out? What's your order?
Well, the thing is, I never. No. You still have to pay. But growing up, I never bought never was allowed to buy anything from the cinema candy bar. Never. So my grandma, we would go to films with my grandma, and she would make a lolly bag, and it would have a fantail, it would have a minty, and it would have some Jaffas in it, and we would smash them. Then I started working. All illegal. You could get kicked out for that sort of stuff, Mark.
Yeah.
We'd someone try and sneak in a pizza. I remember between two people, they put a pizza between them with a jacket over it, like upwards. I'm like, guys, what are you doing?
Do you remember Jada telling us stories of him smuggling food into the cinema?
Dude, he did it after he got off, and he posted it on TikTok. And he was at one of my cinemas, and they saw it. They were like,
him out?
This guy's like trying to sneak in with all this stuff, and he's putting it on TikTok. And I was like, Jaden.
Never-ending beef with Jaden.
It was outrageous, Marky Mark. But Choc Tops, like I'll get popcorn and drink since I started working there. But I became such a big fan of Choc Tops. Like, I'm a chocolate Choc Top kind of guy. I don't know. What's your Choc Top of choice, Mark?
Oh, dude, anything with nuts. Give me chocolate and nuts.
Oh, yeah.
No peppermint. Stuff your peppermint.
Get out.
No fruit.
I don't want to brush my teeth while I'm eating something.
No. Give me some
no
nut.
Berries.
As much chocolate as possible with as many nuts. Get it in my mouth.
It's good. Yeah, let's take that out of context.
Dendy. That's why I set it up. Dendy in Canberra. Sorry for the competition. I don't know. You probably don't have a cinema in Canberra. When I used to live in Canberra, they had the most bougie Choc Tops ever. And it was like a triple choc thing with nuts. That thing was so we would just go to the cinema and buy the Choc Top, and we wouldn't see the movie. Yeah, we'd just like see it later.
When I started, right, and this is how long ago I started, we used to make our own Choc Tops at site.
What?
So there would be a shift. There
like
would
a
be
milk bar. It's like that's so American.
No. You would have a 4-hour shift, and you would get the ice cream, and you'd put it on the cone, and then there'd be an art to dipping it in the chocolate. And then you'd put it up, and then you put it in the freezer, and you would make racks and racks and racks and racks of Choc Tops. And then your last Choc Top that you'd make, you'd put like 3 things of ice cream covered in chocolate, and you'd take that home with you, and you just smash that. You'd be like, I've had a good bloody shift. Yeah. But I'll tell you this for Mark.
You go ahead.
Confectionery saved the cinema industry. Like popcorn, the invention of popcorn and the cogs on popcorn literally saved cinema chains. Because we started, because I don't know if you know, but
probably
like
not.
the distributor. So when a film comes out, right, the box office depending on the contracts that you make, but the vast majority of the ticket price, like 80, 90% of the ticket goes back to the distributor who made the film, right? And who distributes the film. So when you start
And
putting
still
something
Paramount is broke.
yeah, no. First weekend, 90% goes to them, and the actual us, the cinema, we only get 10% of that ticket. But what's interesting, the longer a film stays like in cinemas, that numbers actually changes. So it goes to 80%, and then we get 20%, then it goes to 70%, then we get 30%. And so if a film has really good word of mouth and hangs around for ages, we actually start making a lot more from that ticket price. But
that's why you like Twisters so much. Twisters is that's why you're
keep it up, Marky Mark. But that's why confectionery became such a huge part of the business model, because it became, what can we do to actually pay the bills? What can we do to actually pay the wages and the stuff? And it's through the confectionery sales, and that's kept us going. And it's popcorn is just the perfect product for it.
Listen, you heard it here first. Well, not first, but you heard it here, people. Do yourself a favor. Buy yourself a popcorn. Keep eating.
Keep me in business.
Oh, too good. All right. Eden, what is the secret to planning a great film premiere? Because you've done a few.
One, I have done a lot in my day. So I think film prems. Obviously, what makes a really good one is if you can.
Premiere. Look at me going all fancy. You're down with the working class. The prems.
Yeah, I'm down there, buddy, putting up scaffolding, Mark, while you're there sipping martinis.
Red wine.
Yeah, correct. Sorry. If you can get talent, that just elevates things a million degrees. So as soon as you can get anyone down there, and we have seen, and you know what's really funny about talent is that often the talent, and look, you do get some people that are jerks, but you get a lot of people that are really nice, but their handlers are jerks. So perfect example, Crazy Stupid Love. We have movie. Great movie. Love the film. Steve Carell came down for the premiere for it.
Get out.
And Steve Carell was great, but his handlers were like, so Steve Carell would make an offhand comment like, can I get a water? Just I don't want it too cold though. Then the handlers would run over, be like, Steve Carell needs a room temperature water. Open it this in a glass with this. I need 3 ice cubes in another glass next to it in case he wants it any colder than that. I need it now. Go. And you go off and get, and all he wants is a bottle of Mount Franklin. Like, but it becomes, and he mentioned the temperature. He's like, oh, I hope it's not too hot in there. We had to get a separate little air conditioner for this little green room area that we made. So it was 21 degrees in there, because he made an offhand comment about like, oh, I hope it's not too hot in there. But
I thought you were gonna say that you pulled a cold bottle of water out of the fridge. Then you realized it was too cold, so you had to like stick it between your legs and warm it up or something. And it was like, here's one I've warmed up earlier. This temperature Carell smells a little funny.
But it had some awesome people, like Heath Ledger when he came in. He was absolutely. He came in for Brokeback Mountain. Brokeback Mountain. He came in for with Michelle Williams, and he did his speech, and then he came back and he was just like, "How was the speech, guys? Do you think it was okay?" We're like, "It went really well." And he was like high-fiving Michelle. He's like, "Oh, awesome, really cool." Just really awesome guy. So good. Matt Damon was awesome. He came out for Bourne. He was really short.
How many times did you say Matt Damon?
Well, it was very hard not to say that. We've had Nicole come out and stuff. We had
which Nicole?
Kidman.
Kidman
came out.
Cool.
Yeah. She was really good. We've had a lot of great directors come out, Ang Lee and stuff, and it's always been really fun. Like Viggo Mortensen was also awesome. But I tell you who's been great. Eric Bana, literally, most people will do the intro and then they get in their special car and drive off. Eric Bana stayed around with all the staff and just talked shit with everyone. It was so awesome. He was so good. He was so awesome. And we just chatted with him because he's from St Kilda, and he was like, hey guys, how's this? Rah, rah. He was like a really, really nice guy. But
I like that the Australian actors that you've named there that have made it big overseas, they still keep it real with the Aussies. That's kind of cool.
They do. It's like, it's all well and good to have like really huge international acts, but it's cool when you have those big Aussies that come back and be like, yeah, I'll do this. Yeah, I'll do that. I tell you, the best thing we ever did though, the Hateful Eight, we had Tarantino. We had Samuel L. Jackson.
No.
We had everyone there, and they did a full Q&A, and it was the coolest cinematic experience. So we got to watch the film, and then we did a Q&A with them.
Is this the best cinema in Australia?
It was so awesome.
How did
it
you
was the
pull
coolest
all of that?
experience. It was Tarantino was doing a road show, so he was taking the film around to little theaters, and it was part because the thing is, Rivoli Cinemas, we have a 70mm projector, and he shot it on film, and he wanted people to see it on film, and so there's not that many around. So because we had one, he's like, "Oh, I'm coming to you guys. I'm coming to the Rivoli then," and it was the coolest thing, and we just got to ask questions and all this sort of stuff, and it was really good. It was
favorite
really
Tarantino film. Go.
Honestly, it's like Hateful Eight. I love I love Reservoir Dogs. I think Reservoir Dogs is genius. But I absolutely love Hateful Eight. I absolutely love it. Awesome. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I've got a really good soft spot for that. But yeah, I really liked Hateful Eight because it's like a play. It's it's all in one room, and it's all really interesting, and it's all dialogue. It's like it's recipe stuff. But Reservoir Dogs was like the first Tarantino film I saw, so that holds a special place in my heart as well, which is really good. I love.
I didn't like Hateful Eight.
You didn't like it, Mark? You got to watch it again. Watch it again.
All right. I love
Kill Bill.
I love
Kill Bill's
fantastic. The sound. Honestly, I mean, they're all. Yeah, I know they're all good, but I really, really like Kill Bill and Reservoir Dogs.
Glorious Bastards. All of them are really good. All of them are really good. Except for Death Proof. That was just a failed Groundhouse idea. Failed.
Yeah. So we went to Survivor. We flew in July 2023, just after we had the premieres of Barbie and Oppenheimer. Which was your favorite, and what did you do?
So we did. It was really funny because this was one of the biggest times for cinema in like a year. It was huge, and I was going away straight away afterwards. It was like I did opening night, and I was like, "See you later," and I loved Oppenheimer. I thought Oppenheimer was absolutely amazing. Like I really liked Barbie, but I thought Oppenheimer. I thought the soundtrack was incredible. I thought Cillian Murphy was amazing in it. I just loved everything about it. But what we did was we did like a battling, we did the Barbenheimer double feature. So we promoted that. I did but Barbie, the pink from Barbie was just so iconic. So what we did was we got all these pink floodlights. We flooded all the cinemas with pink. We made pink popcorn. We had Barbie and Ken drinks that you could battle off. We gave away Barbies. So for opening night, we bought a bunch of Barbies, and all our cinemas did Barbie trivia, and we gave away Barbies to the biggest Barbie fan in the audience. I had a pink suit made and everything like that. It was so much fun. It's when the cinemas are pumping like that, and they're all got heaps of people in them, and we're trying to elevate sessions like that a bit more, those opening nights, and turn the experience into something more than just seeing a film. We want to get back, because you can watch stuff at streaming at home. You're battling giant home theater TVs and stuff like that. So what can we start doing to make it an experience to come out to the films? And the best way to do that is opening night, opening weekend of a big release. We're going to start doing these fun little events, talking to the audience, talking to people, running little games and stuff like that, which will really help to elevate the experience. I really want to do a toga party for the next Gladiator. Gladiator 2 is coming out.
Oh, that'd be sick!
I'm doing a thumbs up, thumbs down trivia question with the whole audience. You know how they do live or die sort of thing. So there'll be some really fun things. And my big idea, I want to get a sand red carpet. In front of the cinema. So you can get these carpets that look identical to sand. It's going to be really fun. Yeah. It's going to be really fun.
That is awesome. Hey, dude, just pause for a second. I think just let your internet catch up. There we go. You were your internet was just dying, but I think that's going to be all good.
Oh, all good.
I think that Barbie, it just lent itself so well to marketing and having fun.
It's perfectly.
But fun. You know how some marketing is kind of seedy or gross. I just love the Barbie marketing. It was just really, really cool. So yeah, but I didn't actually see it. I missed it because I was rewatching everything I could. All my spare time was rewatching Survivor, so I had to watch it when I came back, and I really enjoyed it. Dude, I want to hit up a little bit of Survivor at the meta level. Where are we here? Superfan on steroids. That's what I've got written down here. I think you clock Nick Yadanza. I think you do. I don't think anyone else has gone to bloody Token Sheens on a personal personal holiday to recreate the coach moment. But apart from growing a mustache to get yourself cast, I want to know more than just thinking about the game. Like, give me some like interesting insights into how you prepare for the game. Like, so you're Eden. You've been like you've applied, and you're thinking, what am I going to do? What are the things that I'm going to use on the game? I want to, and not challenge related. I want to know about like your preparation over years, because you've got years to essentially plan for something that you want to do, and then you did it. So yeah, tell us your preparation and your journey on that regard.
I think a lot of it was understanding the game and understanding the entertainment value of the game and what that is, and what that is for watching the show, and having reverence for the show, and wanting to not just win the show, but make sure that I'm in one of the best seasons of the show. So I wanted to be on a good season. I knew what a good season was, and I wanted to be on a good season. So what can I do to help facilitate that? And so it wasn't so much like, okay, these are all the things that you should do. Okay, yep, you should form an alliance. You should do this. And like that's all the sort of basic level stuff. But then there's a whole nother level of that, of like, what is entertaining? What are some, and I came up with these pillars, these 10 pillars of stuff that was going to help me in the game. Because part of it was, you can do a lot of prep beforehand, but once you get on the island, you forget 90% of the stuff that you're going out there wanting to do, because it does hit you, and you're suddenly not eating very much, and you're not sleeping very much, and you're not going, what was my things? So I would drill these 10 things like in my brain a lot, to get them subconsciously, so I'm not having to think about them, to go, okay, so when it's when there's a 6-person vote, I'm going to try and do the like the 3, 2, 1 and all this sort of stuff. And it was just, I wouldn't have to sit down and go like, okay, what are my things that I needed to do? And it became second nature about how to approach things. Then it was about, and I did this a lot. This is so funny. Whenever I would travel anywhere or do anything, I would do like a group activity, and whenever I was meeting like a new group of people, I would, in my head, I would start playing Survivor. Like, this is weird, Mark. I'm getting to the weird stuff now.
No. I love this. And I've got one to match you on this. So keep going.
So I would go and I would chat to a new group, and I was in Guatemala, and we were doing this volcano trek in Guatemala, and there was a group of about 10 of us, and I would be there, and I would be thinking, okay, who am I aligning with? Who am I got something common with? I would talk to these people, and I would put out little feelers and be like, yeah, I have a bit of a chat here. Okay, yep. Okay, you two, I'd be on with you two. Now they're getting along over there, so that could be an issue. Those two, I've got to try and separate them. I've got to keep an eye on them. But this one over here, I could probably work with him, and I could probably move him into our alliance. And I would and I would have conversations with people, and I would try and build these connections. And because I knew I would never, like, I'm doing a volcano hike in Guatemala. I'm never going to see these people again in my life. So I would use this time as a way to just implement little things and be like, cool, what works, what doesn't work, what is some of the quickest ways to form connections with people in terms of what stories and what little things. And when you're traveling, it's great because you get so many travel stories. Heaps. But that was such a fun little thing that I would do. And that's practical real life experience. Yeah. The other thing that I started doing as well, I just started applying for game shows. Game shows in Australia are really easy to get onto. And they're always looking for contestants. And it really helps.
I'm just taking notes here. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did the 1% Club. I did the Weakest Link twice. I did the Chase. So I got on all these shows. So I went to the auditions, and I just had fun in the auditions, and I tried different things, and I ended up getting on all of them. And then you do the banter with the host, and so that helps you sort of drill down your banter, get used to being in front of cameras and stuff like that. And doing things like that was a huge benefit. And the other thing is, it's you meet producers, you meet people that are producing shows. And I remember I had a great conversation with someone going like, I did one of my auditions in my dinosaur hoodie, and they're like, we love that hoodie. Like, we want that hoodie on the screen. And I was like, yeah, it's coming out. Don't worry about it. And look, I didn't win any money on any of these shows. I did some training. I did my general knowledge is all right, but I didn't win any cash, but I won the experience, and I won this putting me through my paces, because I know the vast majority of people struggle to have those sort of quick fire banter conversations and sort of have that naturalism. And so going to those, putting yourself in those situations is really helpful. And it actually, it's great. And like Sydney do a lot of game shows, Melbourne do a lot as well. So it is, that's probably the other thing that I did over those years that really got me in a great headspace to help me out in that sort of situation.
Dude, that's incredible. That's real that is such commitment. I love that. And I feel like I've cheated because my life has given me that experience. Whereas you've gone to hunt it. You're a hunter in the wilderness, bloody trying to, there's about
Mark,
10 lions out there, and you're not giving up. You're out there. That's
but
really
this
cool.
is the thing. This is the thing, because like your job is incredible. Sorry. Yeah, your former job. That's an incredible thing that people just don't get to experience, and it gives you skill sets, and it gives you all this amazing opportunities and experiences. And so if you don't have that job, like you're a step behind. So what you've got to do, if you don't have that, like someone got on, they were a private investigator. If you're a private investigator and you're applying for Survivor, you're already got one foot in the door. Like, that's a cool job, being a PI. You got some cool stories, you got some cool stuff. So if you don't have that job, you then have to tick every box. You have to put yourself out there. You have to find this stuff, and you have to drive it, and you have to hone it, and you have to work hard. Like, you have to work really hard to get those experiences and those skills, because there are a lot of people out there that work at a cinema like me, and it's like, that's a fun job, but it's not the kind of job that you can go, oh, look, it's really trained me for Survivor and stuff like that in terms of the experiences or the coolness of it. Yeah, it's interesting.
How do you feel like those experiences affected your real life? Did you feel, because I feel that if I had done those things, it's enriching your own life anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel as if you were a better communicator and a better listener because it's like Survivor was the guru in your life for making your life better, if you know what I mean?
And look, there's a lot of things that you can take from those experiences that can just better how you talk to people, how you communicate, how you approach things. And I think a lot of that is just ends up being subconscious, and it basically makes you into the person that you are. Like, you may not actively be like, okay, I'm going to do this now. It's just because of those experiences and those layered opportunities that sort of build you up into the person you are. So it is an interesting sort of an interesting situation. But you don't talk to Rachel about it. She's like, oh, she honestly, she said to me, she's like, this is getting deep now, Mark. She's like, I'm worried that you're never going to get on Survivor, and you're never going to be truly happy with your life, because you've had this thing that you've wanted so badly for so long, and you've got close so many times, and it's never going to happen, and it's just going to be sitting in the back of your mind forever, and you're never going to be able to get over it.
Yeah.
And I was like, hold my beer, I'm going to audition again. And it was getting near that point, because it was getting near that point where I've been auditioning for 8 years, and it's like, do I keep going? And I was just like, no, I'm just going to keep up. But I did try and actively go, you know what? I'm not going to talk about it all year. I'm not going to go, I can't believe I didn't get on this year. I'm going to go, the application opens. I'm going to put every ounce of energy into that. And I'm going to do some things during the year that will help me. But I'm not going to be the one going like, oh, I can't believe they didn't pick me this year. Oh, look at this guy. Oh, I should have done that. Oh, that should have been me. Oh, I would have done this. Because that brings it all down. That brings down the energy, and the negativity starts festering and stuff like that. So I did make a conscious effort to try and separate those two out.
So were you in the early days, did you get negative when you didn't get on?
I the first year that I got all the way through, the first year I applied, it came back in 2016, and I got all the way through to the very end. When I didn't get on, I was still pumped. I was like, I can't believe I got so close. This is so good.
Next year,
Next year I'm
you'll be
on.
there.
Next year
Shoe
I'm
in.
on. I know everything. And then next year to not get a call back, like, was devastating. To get nothing. And then I was like, what did I do wrong? And then a year after that, not doing anything again, I was like, hang on, what? Like, I don't understand what's happening. And that's when that's when you can go down that sort of rabbit hole. But I was pretty optimistic. I'm a pretty enthusiastic person naturally, so I was always looking at the mate. I can just use this. I can do it again. Always next year. I can do it again. Wait for. I was actually more worried the show was going to get cancelled. I was like, oh man, if it gets cancelled before I get another shot, I'll be so upset.
I bet you when Blood versus Water came out, you were like, oh god.
Honestly, I had that conversation. I was like, unless they do something really big next year, we're in danger territory. And luckily, like, they did. So, like, yeah, it was.
Dude, I want to say I find it really I find it humbling, you know, and because this is the first time I applied and I got on, you know, and it's such a privilege, and yeah, I think people know you as a super fan. They probably heard you talk. They've seen your stuff, but for the people that are listening, you know, you heard that's a lot of commitment, and I suppose trying to find let's imagine you never got on and you have to deal with that. I just hope that people who are keen and thinking about getting on Survivor, that it's about I think Survivor is about being able to put yourself in the shoes of others, and that ultimately is about being a better person. So hopefully through the process of doing all of this, you've become a better person, and then you get the cherry on the top of going out and playing the game. And you did so well, and you did amazingly well. Okay. What I'm doing every time now is I go back and I rewatch the intro promo video.
Oh yeah, great. Okay,
yours is incredible. Unsurprisingly, you say there's a fine line between being entertaining and annoying. Were you actually worried about annoying people giving your prep, or was that just a line? And who did you annoy the most?
So there's definitely I can be up a lot. I can be up and about, and people can find that energy intimidating sometimes when I'm like, and let's do this and let's do that, rah. And people can be like, whoa, okay. But I suppose when you're out there not sleeping, not eating, that natural energy high does come down a bit.
It does.
And so it wasn't at that bouncing off the wall crazy level, which I think helped me in those situations. The thing I was worried about is becoming, and you see it happen in other seasons, where if someone becomes the Survivor person and they're like, well, this happened and then this happens and then actually then this, and I was very conscious. I didn't want to start grading on people like, okay, mate, we get it.
We're here actually doing it. You're talking about.
You've watched Survivor a lot. And I knew there'd be a lot of people that had never watched it, and I knew there would be a lot of people that would feel threatened by the fact that I'd watched a lot of stuff and that that had come out so early. And what was bad for me was I can not talk about it. I can just sit there and not talk about it. But when people start going, oh, Eden, what's an episode where this happened? Or Eden, what's your favorite episode? Or Eden, talk about this. And then you have to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that could have got to the point where, say, a Kitty or a Caroline was like, oh, what about this? What about this? What about this? And then you're just talking like that. And then you've got people like Frankie and Nathan, a couple of them being like, mate, it's all they freaking talk about is this show. Like, it's like, blah, whatever. Yeah. I don't care. We're all on the same show. And I thought that could push people in the wrong direction that I want. And that's why I sort of worked extra hard to try and find things to connect with people about that weren't Survivor, because it can't be your only thing. You can't be like, I'm the guy that just likes Survivor. Exactly. One dimensional. Perfect way to describe it. Yeah.
Who did you annoy?
Who did I annoy? This is a good question. I'm just thinking back. Probably, I reckon
you don't have to answer. That's cheeky.
I reckon Frankie might have got. Frankie could have got a bit annoyed. Winner possibly as well. I think the girls. The
I don't think you annoyed anyone. You know what I think. You know where I think. You know where I think this energy it gets exacerbated is before challenges, and I'm not talking about you specifically. I feel like the pre-challenge huddle, the
Dude.
adrenaline dump is out of
Crazy.
control. And we
Crazy.
lost. We did so badly at the start because we did not think clearly about assigning roles.
We couldn't
Instead,
manage that energy. We couldn't manage that energy. And you know what's crazy to me? That one of the biggest things people ask me, what surprised you the most out there? One of the biggest things that surprised me the most is when GLP and Jeff Probst say you got a minute to strategize. I was like, oh, turn the cameras off, 10 minutes, sit around having a chat what we're going to do. No, we had 30 seconds to decide and make decisions sometimes. And it was absolute mayhem. And you can see everyone was afraid they didn't want to be the leader. They didn't want to be, guys, this is what we all have to do, because no one wanted responsibility when it failed. People weren't coming out being like, I'm a really good swimmer. I'm really good at puzzles. I need to be in this position either. People were just like, I'll do whatever. I'll do whatever, man, because everyone wants to be a team player. But we needed aces in places, and a lot of those early challenges, we were just making silly mistakes when you look at some of the choices we made.
I've never said this before, but the way that I thought about those 30 seconds, in my mind, I wanted to say, don't describe the challenge. We don't need to rehash what is going to happen in the challenge. We've been briefed. Just say we need 3 here, 4 there, 3 there. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3. You know, like you don't need to reanalyze it. And I think there was, but I didn't say it. I didn't say it at all. And I absolutely agreed with Frankie. She was so frustrated with it, and I was totally in agreement, because I think a lot of us were just reanalyzing it. But then I think as we got a bit more mature in our tribe, we realized that we just needed to assign roles and figure out how to manage the challenge rather than describe it. But I think that the adrenaline dump before, with the cameras and the excitement and the nervousness, if you need a win, like we did need a win, it was huge. And
a good example of that is, do you remember the basketball challenge with the shooting?
How can I forget?
The 6 in a row. Yeah. So that challenge, very specifically,
I was dead. If we lost that, I was dead.
dead man walking. So that challenge, I very specifically remember Jaden was like, I'm really good at the balancing. I'll help with the balance thing and stuff like that. And one of you guys go on the thing. And I was like, no, you're going to be our shooter, because this challenge is going to come down to shooting. And if we have someone that can't make the distance and can't get a good lob on that, it doesn't matter what else we do. That's going to fail the challenge. I don't care how good you are at balancing. Like, you're going to be in that position. And he's like, oh, okay, fine, man. Cool, whatever. And he just did it. And we stuffed, the balancing, we were really behind and everything like that.
I was dying.
Balance wasn't your best attribute out there, right? You in the water.
Flexibility and balance, no good.
So when we got out there, and then lo and behold, it came down to that, and bang, 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 we had that distance, we had that shot, and it worked out. And that was a good example of we got to that point where we just made those decisions like, no. It's not kumbaya anymore. This is I can see that this is going to work the best way if we do this. Yeah.
Bring out Dictator Eden. I liked it.
You sort of have to.
But that too, I remember that. I can recall, and I concur. The other part of that was the communication before we held up the net with the team was amazing. Get big tall boys up the back.
And
then we're down at the front. We were watching the other team, and we didn't muck around, brother. We
knew
were there.
exactly what we had to do.
We knew exactly what we were doing. There was no, am I on the left side? Am I on the right side? There was no faffing around. No, am I pulling the ball? Are you on the ball? Oh, none of that. It was just like bang. It was bang. It was clockwork.
It was such a good moment.
Thanks, man. I think I was probably gone if we lost, but anyway, we don't need to. This podcast is not about the details of the game. So
no.
All right, let me scroll down here. Oh, mate, we've ticked off so many already. Okay, you're a fan of the game. Okay, you've already answered half this question already. But wardrobe, I want to talk wardrobe.
Oh yeah.
Why did you pick what you wore, knowing everything you know about Survivor?
So the thing is, you want to come across as a character with a uniform. right? So
Uh-huh.
I'm not out there going like, okay, what's going to be the optimal like clothes for me to survive this situation? I'm going out there being like, what is my character like going to wear, and what's
Uh-huh.
going to be that iconic piece of clothing or that thing that is remembered or stuff like that. That's me as a fan going out there being like, this is what I want to know. And the show ate into that. They were like, yeah, look, you're a nerdy guy. That's fine. I went through so many like costume basically rejections. I was like, what about this? What about this? They're like, nah. Because
What were the
everything
other
had like,
options? What were the other options?
dude, I had the thing that I was basically going to wear was my Jurassic Park logo top. So my classic Jurassic
IP.
Park logo.
Bloody lawyers, don't let them
And
in the room.
all these movie ones I had, they were like, nah, IP, nah, IP, nah, nah,
Who
nah,
wants a
nah, nah. And
mustache rat?
everyone
Super Troopers.
got, yeah, well, that's exactly right. But I could get through these pretzels making me thirsty because it was a quote.
Yes.
And it wasn't as like blatant as like, hey, this is Seinfeld, rah, rah, rah. And so I managed to get that got approved at the last minute. So I was like, oh, fantastic. This is good. I always knew I wanted to wear my Hawaiian shirt out there because I'm a big fan of the Hawaiian shirt. It's part of my style.
Yeah.
But then
did not handle the dirt very well, the Hawaiian shirt.
Oh, dude, it's still in my cupboard now. It is a shadow of its former self, Mark. The dinosaur hoodie and tracksuit as a combo, I was like, this is going to just be iconic. It's going to be like the thing that they're like, oh, the fluoro. And I used to wear that out and about, that dino hoodie.
Yeah.
And everyone loves it. Everyone is like, this is such a good hoodie. This is so fun. It's not the warmest hoodie out there, but it's no poncho, I'll tell you that much. And then the jeans were just production felt that like the jeans and Converse were like the nerdy sort of pop culture look that they thought would whack. And I actually had a plan turning them into like cutoffs. Do you know in Arrested Development, you know how Tobias wears is like a never do cutoffs? Yeah. I did actually do that at some point, and we just never got around because we didn't have a knife for a while, and we got one, and then it was raining and it was always wet, and that would have been fun though. That would have been fun. Next time.
Next time. The Converse shoes were a choice, man. I had the privilege. I wore my woolen jacket, woolen suit pants, my suede shoes. All of these things kept dry really fast. They got dry fast, and then whereas
I was the only one without Crocs. I was the only one without Crocs out there.
No, bro, I didn't have Crocs.
Place. Oh yeah, you and me.
There was like a handful of us. I was concerned about the Crocs alliance there for a minute.
Everyone. I was like, man, we need some Crocs. I was very close to asking Nathan for his Crocs as we voted about. I was like, bro, can I give you
help a brother out?
He
probably would have given them to you.
He was a generous guy.
Who I love Nathan. Keen to get him on.
He's good.
Who in Australian Survivor history, if not you, and not including Titans v Rebels, because it's obviously Valeria, who has the best costume, quote unquote costume in the past? Because it's Valeria. For me, it's Valeria number one. She had the best.
It
completely
really
impractical. The best.
I really liked Harry's ice cream top. I thought being the ice cream man and having the ice cream top, I actually really liked that.
Was that the second time round? Because I think the first time around he had a band shirt on, a really subtle band reference.
But I think that's really good.
Ice cream top. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I thought it was very iconic. I liked I actually really liked that Luke. Do you remember Luke's season where he started wearing everyone's clothes that he voted off? Stuff like that. I really like that as a fan. I think that's very good. But if we go international, like a good hat, a good iconic, like fedora, like Panna had that classic hat on. Russell had his little fedora and stuff like that. Like all those sort of things that really stand out.
My favorite hat is Colby's hat.
Colby's.
I think it was it? The big. I think it was All Stars, right?
All Stars.
Yeah. I like the Colby hat.
It's
Colby
good.
and
It's really good.
Jerry. What a duo.
What a combo. I ain't no Hershey bar.
Do you what a throwback. What a callback. Do you think Colby could ever play again? Did you see that he wants to play Survivor 50?
I did read that. I just think it's a different there is something about seeing these really, really early players come back that are really old now that are genuinely like old. It would be fun, but he can't play the same game. Like he has to play a different game. And what is the other element to Colby outside of that good old boy?
He's been an actor. He's been on Arrested Development, mate. Like he
mate,
might have
I
broadened
know.
his horizons.
I know. And he was in Curb Your Enthusiasm. He's popped up in a few things over the years. He was hosting stuff. Yeah. He was like, he's really,
Who's
I
your
really
number
like,
one pick? Who's your number one pick for Survivor 50?
oh, mate.
I'm putting you on the spot.
Like, so personally, or do you think?
Yeah, no. Like, if you could put someone on there, like who? Screw the haters.
I have two. I have Jonathan Penner, because I love Jonathan Penner, and I feel like he's awesome. And Shane Powers, mate. The fact that Shane Powers hasn't got back,
yes,
is a crime.
Yes,
and I know he's had his Survivor funeral, everything like that. But if there was ever a time to get him back, to bring him back for 50, has he lost his iconicness outside of the super fan, because he hasn't been on again and it's been so long? But oh, dude, he was just so good. He was so good. I'll have to put together my full 50 list.
I voted, but it was a bit of a rush. I rushed voted. I voted too, but it was a bit of a rush job. But I had Shane in my list. I did not have Penner. But I had Blackberry. I had Blackberry Shane on there. All right, Eden, what is the best alliance name in Survivor history, and why is it the Invisible Hand?
Well, honestly, that is one of the best. That is one of the best. Are you talking Australia or international?
Go to Australia first, because I feel I've really been like pumping Australian Survivor lately. So hit me with Australian Survivor, and then you can broaden that.
Obviously, I love an alliance. I love naming alliances. I had every little group out there. I had, obviously, we had the Invisible Hand. We had the Middle-Aged Mafia. We had the Core 4. We had the Coast to Coast. We had Tea Time. I had Big Daddy Alliance. So naming an alliance. That was me and Riri. We both like cup of teas. Yeah. And I think we had one really, really good chat where we were like, should we do more stuff together? And then it never came to fruition. But we both did like a good cup of tea. I think some other ones.
What do you got, a black or green, or what's your tea of choice?
Oh, Australian Afternoon, Marky Mark.
Oh, okay.
It's
very parochial.
No, it's excellent. It's an excellent blend. Have that with milk. No sugar, off sugar. So yeah, and plus I grew up having sugar in tea.
Mate, it wasn't your fault. It's like smoking durries when you're a kid. You was like secondhand smoke was just part of the parcel.
So I would have a cup of tea after school every single day since grade 1, I think. Yeah. Since I was like 6, every single day, come home from school, have a cup of tea. And I've only recently realized later on that the tea was just sugar. It was just sugar. Like, you didn't actually get to taste the tea itself. And so now I don't have sugar in my tea, so I can actually taste I tell you, don't have Russian Caravan, Mark. I'll tell you that for nothing.
Oh, man, I love it. I love Russian Caravan. I won't hear a word against it.
What?
Give me that dusky, smoky stuff. Hell yeah, bro.
It's like an ashtray, Mark. It is drinking an ashtray.
It's like Lafroig. Yeah.
God, I cannot believe that, mate.
Give it to me dirty, man. I love Russian Caravan. Yeah, Eden's mind is
that's just blown my mind there, Mark.
It's not my number one. My number one's again matcha, like the green tea with the roasted rice from Japanese. I have a lot of that, but I don't discriminate. I don't discriminate against Russian Caravan. But yeah, okay. So
I loved. Do you know a name? Okay, I think the Spice Girls was pretty genius. I actually really enjoyed it. But you know what I really loved? Australian Survivor. I really loved the Little Rascals.
That's it.
I thought that was so fun, and it was so it didn't obviously hang around for a long time, but
not their fault. Not their fault.
But I think it really encapsulated that energy and what that group was doing. And I thought it was really just a fun. It was a fun name, and it was a fun group of people. And I thought that's right up there for me in terms of Australian Survivor.
I like this. I have this phrase called "you see it, you like it, you buy it." If you go to a big market overseas somewhere and you see something in a market and you like it, just buy it. Don't question it. Little Rascals is the see it, you like it, you buy it alliance name or so of it. It rolls off the tongue, and as soon as you say it, there ain't no coming back. That's it. Little Rascals. We're done. Lock it up. No questioning. You
I
know.
actually really liked, and we're talking international. Yes, you've got the Black Widow Brigade, you've got the
Yeah.
Bruchachos, you've got like the Three Amigos, Stealth Are Us, you've
Stealth are
got
us.
the Onion Alliance,
Mm.
like the Exile Alliance from Token Chains. But one I really liked was the Coconut Bandits. I loved the Coconut Bandits, and I was wanting to form my own Coconut Bandit sort of group out there on our island, but I never got around to it,
Garrick went
unfortunately.
too
But
soon.
yeah,
What's the name
exactly.
of the what was Jeremy? What was the service one? Like the police, the fire, the
That was Cops
what were
Are
they?
Us.
Was that
Is that
Cops
what
R
you're talking
Us?
about?
No, because Jeremy was the firefighter. Uh, um,
Oh, you're
they
talking
they
from
they had, they had one when they were
Second Chance.
yeah, there was like they were all the service people. Shit, it was obviously wasn't that good because I can't remember it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Look, it's no Stealth Are Us.
Stealth R Us is fantastic.
Stealth Are Us, ridiculous.
Dude, I think I'm just going out there on a whim. Invisible Hand is the seed you like you buy. You
Honestly,
say it, yeah, it was great.
honestly, love it. Love it. We got so
Yeah,
much good feedback from it. Everyone loved it.
yeah.
It's just such a shame it couldn't go all the way to the end of the game. Imagine a final two with the Invisible Hand. Oh,
Oof,
so
oof.
good.
I can't imagine, mate. That game, everything just got more difficult towards the end. So,
Oh, dude, it would have been so crazy. One question for you, as
oh,
we're talking
okay, yeah. Turn
survival
it back,
wise.
turn it back. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No. But I was just that. So, what did the girls? What really do the V's offer you in terms of your
Oh,
alliance with them?
oh, putting me under pressure.
Like, no,
Um,
I've just been honest because we've never really drilled down too far on that.
so Viola and I had a very personal conversation off camera, don't tell them, where we exchanged some information about our lives, which we didn't want on film, and it was
Yeah,
very bonding. It was very
yeah,
bonded, and it was to a degree where I think it was very close. So that was a very close relationship. Valeria as well. I think in the early days, she was kind of isolated a little bit,
yeah,
and we bonded really closely around. I think she actually knows what a diplomat does because her dad is a Russian cop, and
yeah.
Russians kind of know about the world of diplomacy because they've been doing it for a couple of years now.
Mm,
So they both got me really well, and I do think that having options was always good for
mm.
me.
The
And
options, yeah.
then I think I think being in a three is better than a four.
Mm,
And so I think having Invisible Hand plus a four with Middle-Aged Mafia and then being in a three on the. So the actual trick was getting Viola and Valeria to actually get on board with the Middle-Aged Mafia because that wasn't
yeah,
always a given. And so, you know, the Middle-Aged Mafia got good value out of me bringing the V's on board, and then it just went
sure.
from there. And I think being even if I was on the potentially the third in a three, I felt like it was a bit more stable.
Mm,
And I won't say who in the four was less stable, but I didn't feel as tight in a
yeah,
four. I felt maybe three out of four were tighter, but I felt like as a three we were. And I took inspiration from the Little Rascals. Actually, I think
mm,
being in a strong three, I like triangles. I'm like a I could see that
visual,
working
yeah.
quite well as a three, and then I could see Winner, Viola, and myself as another three. That was a really strong thing which didn't get shown at all. And if the swap had gone differently, everything could have been different.
Yeah,
But but I think being in a strong three is a lot more powerful than being in a big four that's a bit more fragile.
mm,
And I
mm,
saw fragility there. And I think that as well, sometimes you got to go with your gut a little bit. And Viola and Valeria, they possibly didn't understand Survivor as well. And so I think that they were kind of like looking to me a little
to
bit
someone, yeah.
in that regard. Um, but yeah, I think as well I was quite surprised by the personal um how much
connections.
the
Yeah.
personal connection. I was really, really connected with both of them. It's hard to
Yeah.
believe, I know. But no, but I was. And I'm not saying, it's not to discredit the Middle-Aged Mafia. I think we had a great personal
Oh,
connection.
no.
But like, you know, let's call a spade a spade. Like, I don't think in that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I don't think everyone got along.
No.
And so I had to see where I thought the strongest group was. And I think the strongest group in terms of a more than 2-person alliance, so that's excluding us, was with the bees. So yeah.
Yeah, because I just felt no, it is really good. It is really good because that was the only thing that I did feel like. I knew that we still had a good relationship, but I did just feel that you had gone all in with the V's and that you were like, this is where I'm at now.
Yeah.
And then that obviously put alarm bells off in other people's heads and things like that because they're like, okay, this is where it is now. And I don't think we never were able to have that conversation, that really honest conversation with you and me. That was like, I think we tried to have it a couple of times, but we were both so worried about the game. We were both unwilling to just be completely honest and just strip ourselves down and be like, this is exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what's happening. And we could go, awesome. Let's just keep doing what we're doing then. And we'll get like, I remember we had a roundabout conversation, but neither of us wanted to just put it out because, again, you're worried that people are going to say things to other people and things are going to get back to people. It's really hard to find that. Yeah.
I think that there were 2 reasons why that wasn't possible. One is Winner and one is Charles, because I couldn't square in my mind where Charles sat in terms of moving forward. And then because Viola really liked him, and Winner was a huge part. Dude, you saw how much I was talking in Thai. Well,
yeah, dude, it's crazy.
Like, it was just like I woke up and I spoke in Thai with Winner, and everyone was just like, "Oh yeah, it's Mark and Winner chatting and blabbing away in Thai."
It was
But
just like,
Winner's,
bad.
and I would just openly say, "Oh, you know, whatever I wanted," and then we'd giggle and laugh like little schoolboys. But we said that in time. We're like, whenever we finish a sentence, make sure we giggle and laugh, and then you know, I don't know. I don't really think anyone felt it that threatening, but it was a good connection to have. But I couldn't quite figure out in my mind, if we went to another vote, that would have been, at OG Titans, that would have been incredible. But yeah,
I think the only thing with your game in that field, it was quite obvious where you had put your chickens and your eggs, and I think that would be the only thing that would be like, okay, in terms of looking at that and being like, I think I need to play, but it's a double-edged sword because if you push it back a bit too much, then the people you are really close with would be like, well, why is Mark pulling away a little bit? Why is he not like going all in with this? But it does become very like obvious in terms of, okay, this is where his focus is, or this is where this person's focus is. And I think the trick of it is to try and have those connections, but still it come across that you are that sort of that person that can work with anyone and can do that. Yeah, it's a really
I can handle some constructive criticism. I suppose my a gentle rebuttal is that I feel like at that point it was better to be
all in.
more Boston Rob than more I don't know, Cochrane. I think at that point in the game, it just came down then to the luck of or the unluck of the swap, because I think that, putting it back, I think that the winner, Jaden, Viola Valeria, and then Charles, potentially, like, the numbers could have flipped actually quite quickly. And so I think reading the room wasn't the worst thing to do, because I think that ultimately you start to rub people the wrong way when you've been on the beach that long in a power position. So I think it was better. It was better to be. You had to pick a side, more or less, and I think that this, in my mind at least, could have been wrong. But that pre-merge game, I think you kind of had to pick a side, and that's why they swapped because they didn't.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
But I just I just remember you and me really had that pre-merge, that pre-swap tribe on lockdown.
Right.
That was
It was
pretty.
pretty
It was
good.
pretty. It was good times.
It was good fun. Did you feel like that's not I don't want to dissect. I don't want to dissect too much. If people want a greater dissection, then let us know.
They could do it.
Okay. Challenges. You are not a challenge. I bet you when I spoke to Riri, she said that she fast forwarded the game and watched the challenges. I assume for you it would be the other way around.
That's so funny.
But I think some of your greatest moments were in challenges.
Yeah. You say that, Mark,
so-
but I didn't get to do a lot of individual challenges, but the individual challenges that are on, more often than not, I was in like the final 4 or so for a lot of those individual challenges, because so much of those challenges, when it gets to that part of the game, are like a lot of them are mental. A lot of them are who wants this more, who's the person that is going to push themselves to this point. A lot of them balancy stuff. A lot of them is holding. So I think that's really good. I think the ones at the start of the game, 100%, they're all Australian Survivor is known for this crazy strength, madness. Like these challenges were absolutely wild. And going out there, honestly, everything is heavier than it looks on TV. Everything is bigger than it looks on TV. Everything is like the weight of stuff out there was that was a shock.
What
It's
was
just
the
some of those
hardest
things.
challenge for you in those big group challenges?
I tell you where I got really gassed. You know, with the coconut throwing one. You know where we
Yeah.
had to get the coconuts
Yes.
off the netting.
Yeah.
That
was tiring.
was
Yeah,
so
you were standing all
tiring.
over my shoulders, I remember.
Oh, dude, I know. And then people were on like my shoulders and stuff like that, and you just physically, like, you know what you need to be doing, but it was so hard. It was
That was
so
tough.
hard. That was really tough. Even the holding. Remember the holding the water barrel one?
Yep.
That was just mental for me. That just got to the point of, don't be the first one to drop. Don't be the first one out. Don't be the first one on our team out. Don't be like, it was just setting mental barriers and just mentally being like, well, you just can't. You can't drop out until someone else drops out. Okay, now you can't drop out until another guy's dropped out. Okay, now you can't drop out until a guy on your team's dropped out. Like it was literally just that, and just convincing yourself that, yeah, I'm not going to do this until I get all the way through.
But bro, you're missing out the mess. You're forgetting you're forgetting the tug of war.
I'm building up to the tug of war.
Oh, right. Go, take it away. Sorry.
The tug of war. Cheating. The tug of war was iconic for me and Charles in the way that we were obviously chosen as the weakest people in our tribe, and to then go, you know what? Let's just dig in. And we were losing that quite badly at the start. Like we got pulled along. And then I tell you what really helped in that one. Nathan was really good, and you were really good. Both you and Nath were both really good in that challenge. Just talking us through. And I know Nath was like, okay, guys, just drop down, lock in, like all this sort of stuff. And I have that ability to like really squat down and lock in. And I remember at the time you were definitely calling it, Mark. You were like, okay, this is what we're going to do. Okay. Yep. Okay. They're up. Go. And bang. Yeah. And we were just, and it was like, I know me and Charles were doing it, but it definitely was a group effort between us 4. And I think you guys were a big part of that win. But psychologically,
what did it feel like? Because you came back from. People don't understand how hot it was. Caroline passed out multiple times.
Yeah.
And you were losing. You were getting they dragged so far. And the hardest thing in tug of war is to bring it back.
Get back.
Like actually, like. Yeah. What was going through your head when you started to get it back? Could you believe it? At what point did you believe that you could win?
I think honestly, it was because it was the tarp, and it was just like I was like, Survivor, you need the tarp. You need the tarp. You have to win the tarp. And it was locking. Once we locked in, and we're like, okay, no, they're not going to move us when we're in this position. So now it's all about timing, and it's about doing that pull and locking in, and mechanics, exactly, Mark. And so it was about locking that stuff in. And then when we started getting like inch by inch, like it was Al Pacino's speech from Any Given Sunday. It was inch by inch. It was just in my head. I was just like, just inch by inch, just inch by inch, and
So
then
good.
getting it, and then just winning, and then winning that, and just I've just never had that elation, that pure joy that just washes over you, and it was it was wild. It was a wild experience. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, me and Charles doing that together was definitely bonding. Like it was,
Yeah.
we would often chat about that. We'd be like, man, that felt so good. And he was like, yeah, I know,
Yeah.
it really did. It's funny, like little moments like that can impact people's relationships with each other as well. Like when you do something
Oh,
like that with someone.
I think it was a real. I was annoyed. I was ecstatic, but I was like, "Damn, these two are they're bonding over the little kids and doing it for their kids." I
Yeah.
was annoyed, but then I was also happy that Valeria and Caroline did theirs together, and that was actually again
That was,
we tapped into that actually as the I think that was really important for them at that point in the game to do that together.
yeah, that's
But it's
right.
amazing how a challenge. Um, for you, you're probably not really that excited about them, but I think it was a huge moment in the game for
Yeah.
you, for the tribe to see how well you did, for everyone to be yelling and and screaming and encouraging you to
So
do
good.
well.
Felt so
It
good,
was
didn't it, bro?
massive. It was massive. It was so cool. And I think
But
super
the thing
fans
is,
out there don't understand.
you had that moment. I remember in the water in that first swimming challenge that you did, and that iconic image that's burned into my head of you like leaning off the fence. Like that is an iconic image, and I'm pretty sure you would have had that same feeling of like,
Yeah.
this is pretty amazing. Like this
The
is
thing
pretty
is,
good.
the difference there is that you got picked as the weakest.
Mm,
you were like the nerdy kid that got picked last, right? And so you're
yeah.
fighting against the expectation. Whereas I had a secret power that I didn't reveal, and I knew it was in me. And I was matched against Ray. And I'm
Oh,
like, no offense against Ray, but I know I've got Dolphin Boy on my screen. I know what
yeah,
I got.
yeah.
So that was more of like a like when you've got a really good hand in poker and you're just like, I cannot lose.
You got the nuts. You got the nuts,
I
mate.
got the nuts. I got the nuts. And then the little flare at the end, I remember thinking it was like these little split second thoughts in my head popped into my head because I did a lot of theater when I was at school. And I remember that my theater teachers were always telling me never to show your back to the camera. And so I remember as I was going over the final log, I thought, oh, I got to make sure that I face it was like
Yes, bro. That's so
zoomed back to like grade 10, face the
so
camera.
good, mate.
Yeah.
It's so good.
So
It's so
no, but
good.
it did feel that was special because I think of being on the Titans tribe with really, really strong players to break people's expectations was really fun. That's what I really
Yeah,
enjoyed,
it
making
was really
people
good.
speechless. Whereas what was so great about your and Charles' effort was the grit and determination to come back from what looked like defeat and
Mm,
then bring a tart back to camp. That was pretty cool.
it was great.
So rewards, another thing that we didn't care about. I
Oh,
honestly, I tried because I knew that our tribe wanted us to win,
mm.
but we obviously didn't care about them. I had a bit of spare waistline up my sleeve, unlike you. But on reflection, would you care more about rewards from either a food perspective or a team morale, winning rewards, team boosting perspective?
I think
Has your opinion changed?
I think I think the team, okay, could be two things because you can bond over losing. You
Yeah.
can bond over, I can't believe we didn't get this. Damn them, rah rah. You can bond over losing just as much as you can
Hmm.
bond over winning. I think more so you can actually bond over losing because you're in the down in the dumps. What
Builds you
I
up for immunity.
builds you up exactly. What honestly, now you and me went through a huge portion of this game without anything. The one big food reward that they got was the one that where we chose to look for the idol instead. So you
Yes,
and me missed out on that.
yes, I remember.
And you and me coming from the Titans tribe literally had gone the longest without any sort of reward or anything like that. And
Mm,
I don't eat. I didn't need to eat a lot. I was getting by, and I can function on
Mm.
very little sleep and very little food and stuff like that. But even then, I was really feeling
Mm.
the need for something. We got at 14 days in, they didn't show it, but we got that feast. We got the swap feast,
The swap
right?
feast, yeah.
That was our
You're
only
great
bit of,
in that challenge as well, by the way.
I
But
mean,
yeah.
they didn't show, that was so fun. That was really good. But so we didn't eat anything basically to that day 14, and then from day
Mm.
14 until the basically all the way through, again, I like you and me didn't eat anything else
Is that
besides
right?
that.
Shit.
Yeah, I know.
So I got
Until you got
spam
yeah
and the barbecue.
yeah until you got the barbecue. That was and I didn't get that, and I honestly think like I got to the point where I think eating something substantial like that barbecue would have
Mm.
really helped just reset my body a little bit and just reset my
Mm.
mind, because I honestly started feeling like my brain was slowing down, and it was
Mm.
taking me longer to think through numbers. It was taking me longer to, because I would run a lot of numbers at night, and it
Mm.
was taking me a longer to be like, okay, what is the optimal thing to do in this situation? Or,
Mm.
oh, that's what I should have said to that person when they asked me this. Because a
Mm.
lot of the time you've got people coming up to you being like, so who did you just talk to? Why did this,
Yeah.
like, is
You
that happening?
need a cover story
And if
in a split second.
if you don't instantly come back with, oh, that's because of this, it's like, oh, they're lying, because they're going,
Mm.
well, when I talk to this person, and if you haven't eaten, it's harder and harder to do that and to function that
Mm.
level. And I do like you guys came back different people after
Mm.
that barbecue.
Well, we did.
You
A
were
lot had changed.
no, exactly to my downfall. Ultimately, but they that just talking and talking so fast
Mm.
and being like, okay, this is what we're doing. Oh yeah, and we thought about this and this happened, right, and you could just see the energy that that
Mm.
that gas that everyone had back in their systems.
Yeah.
And I do actually think that if we had got a few more of those rewards along the way, it would have
Mm.
probably put me in a little bit of a better position, just
Yeah.
because your brain needs food. And it was probably
Yeah.
something I didn't put as much effort into,
Mm.
thinking about it. But I really did start to feel it out there. And I did notice that it was taking me longer to think through things. And a big part of
Mm.
that was that I just didn't get to eat. Yeah.
I think it is interesting because the other tribe did get a lot more food than us. Like that Mexican feast looked bloody full of protein, and
The
that was
Mexican feast, they had the
huge.
kids party, they had
Kids party I can keep. I
yeah,
don't want that
whatever.
kids
But
party.
but
Yeah.
this they had,
The cheese,
the
toasties, and
che
coffee. That
cheese
killed me.
toasties, but then they had the meats and cheese, like the security board, they had that as well.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
And we got
that was the
bloody
one that we
tin
should have
too.
won. We should have won that one. That was the one where winner missed hitting the
You
bell.
did.
Yeah.
I went up against Tobias, yeah. Hey, I
uh,
want to go back to when
mm.
when we came back gassed up from our barbie. You seemed particularly down.
Oh, I
Were you
was. Yeah, yeah.
actually down, or were you just was that a
No,
for
no, no, I
show?
was really down. I was really depressed and down.
Yeah.
You guys had this moment together, and you had built this stuff, and I didn't feel like I had any say in the Ferris Mark. Sorry, the Ferris Ray,
Caroline
Eileen,
Kitty one.
Caroline, Kitty, and Alex
Yeah.
sort of side. I didn't feel like I had a lot of sway there, so I didn't really put that much faith in that. And
Mm.
then I felt that you guys had this moment together. So you guys all came back being like, oh, guys, we've worked out all this stuff. This is awesome. We're all back on board. And I feel like I missed out on that.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was just in this really bad mental space floating wise. And,
Mm.
and I felt, yeah. And also just missing out on winning the car as well. And
Mm.
sort of not resenting Caroline for that, but it's just
Me, you
like,
mean?
no, Caroline, because Caroline couldn't get the rope. We got all our ropes earlier,
Oh, right,
and
right. For not winning. Yeah.
Caroline couldn't get that last one. And for
Yeah.
someone to finish it first and be like, "Okay, Caroline, all you need to do is this. Come on, mate. Come on, mate. Come on, mate." And
Mm.
then I was just like, "Oh, that was
Like
frustrating."
you did all you could, but it was obviously a team effort.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I was really, and I think honestly, that's probably what led to my vote out as well, because it was the first time that I wasn't like in the game. I was just
Mm.
feeling really depressed and down. And I remember I had a chat, and it was just like, oh wow, this is the first time that you've mentioned not eating in forever, or not winning a reward, or not reading something. It's the first time that you talked about that sort of stuff, and not like, how are my
Me?
relationships? No,
Or
me. I had this conversation with Clint out there. I had this
oh,
conversation,
right.
and everything I was talking about was that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
And
right.
pointed out to me that it's just like, oh wow, that's the first time you haven't talked about your relationship, or something to do with the game more structurally,
Mm,
or the bigger picture, or how you're going, and all that sort of stuff. It was very down. And so, and that like ended up being where I like lost. It doesn't take a lot of time just to lose that track.
mm,
And it was just, I was just punished. I was just punished even though in the back of my mind it's like, well, if it all goes to hell, at least they'll probably vote Caroline, and I'll feel really bad. I was feeling really guilty, because I was like, you know what, Caroline's probably going to go home tonight, because
mm,
this is all going
mm,
to blow up. But
mm.
we'll live to fight another day, and we'll try some new stuff. And yeah, and so when you're thinking that those sort of things, and when you just take your eye off it for a moment, it can really, everything, like, you just get punished, the ultimate punishment for just like one little, like,
Yeah.
just where you are for that. And it's not, you can do everything right, but then you can just do one thing that,
Dude, I mean,
yeah,
there's also like things you can control and things you can't control, right? So, I mean, I think everyone had tough days, but that was definitely one I remember. I remember thinking, oh, but I don't know that contributed. It really didn't contribute to a lot, because there was all that crap that was happening at the beach that day as well. So there was a lot flying around.
there was a lot
when
flying around.
back at the beach when we were at the Barbie, but yeah, no, but it's interesting. It is really interesting about
But
the
that's what was going on in my head.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's real. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough. But I think a lot of people had that as well. Whacked slipping. I kind of felt it was like slipping in and out of the game. And I do think that the lack of food on our behalf became a factor. And I really, at the end of the game, bro, I was stealing as much bloody food as I could. I was
cool.
not. I was just packing it away, and I was always eating. I mean, I was always eating coconuts at pretty much every confessional or every chat. I mean, I'm shoveling them down, but
Cool.
those beans, Mary, and the crabs, man, seriously, get amongst the crabs. I think it made a difference. It's not a joke.
That little
Not a
bit
joke.
of protein.
Yep. All right, mate. We're 1 hour and 50 in, but I'm having a great time. How are you going?
This is
How are you
crazy.
tracking?
This is great. Oh, mate, you know I love talking to you, Mark. You know I love talking all things with you, mate.
All right. Okay. Okay? Listen carefully to the question. What's a fun favorite moment that wasn't shown for you?
Ooh, a fun favorite moment.
Like, what's a
that
fun
wasn't
moment?
shown.
Yeah. Because
Okay,
we
so
all have moments that would make us look better strategically, but what's something that you thought was really fun?
you know what was really fun that never got shown was honestly me telling ghost stories at night, and everyone being like, this is great. Eden, tell us another ghost story, man. And I was like, okay, what about this one? And everyone would be like, oh, Eden, you're so good at telling these stories. They're so, like, honestly, that was fun for me. And that was,
yes.
I love doing that. And that was really fun. And I was like, nah, it's a shame stuff like that doesn't get shown. Even playing charades was really
there's a
fun.
snippet on there, but that
There's
was
a little
so
bit,
much fun.
but that was fun as well. And these are the sort of things
Madagascar.
that I like. Madagascar.
Yeah.
And I tell you one thing that you get. Remember when I got bitten by that crab? That never came out of anywhere. That was fun. That was outrageous. That was absolutely outrageous. But stuff like that I thought was really fun. That just
nighttime chats. It's like going on school camp on steroids when you're
100%.
that first couple of nights all lying there, freaking out, nervous, scared, excited. You're on the game, you're off the game. The game never stops, but at the same time, you got to be natural and be engaging. And those ghost stories were it was the tonic that everyone needed, you know. It's just the sweet spot between fun, approachable, likable, but also not trying too hard. Yeah, it was great. I loved it. Yeah, I loved it. Okay, that's a good one. I have a fun one as well, but I'm not going to share it just yet. All right. How did you cope playing the game with a little baby at home? And how many decades of dishes do you have until you're even with your wife?
Oh, mate. I don't think I'll ever be even. I don't think until she gets to go on and play Survivor. I don't think.
Oh, is she up for it?
She would be up for it. She would 100% be up for it. I got her into
Mate.
Survivor. She would be really good at it as well. She's super physical and like super determined, and she's fantastic. But it was really hard. It was really hard. Phoenix was under 1 year old at the time, and I tried to not think about them a lot because it's too hard. But there were definitely points, especially there were some confessionals where we had some
Bawling your
chats
eyes
about
out.
them. Yeah. And it was
Were
really
you
hard
nervous
because-
were you nervous about the whole bawling your eye out confessional on TV, or were you okay with it?
No, it was all good. I cry. That's
Me too,
I'm not embarrassed.
as you
I'm
saw.
not embarrassed about that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
So that to me, I was like, when it came up, it would bring a lot of stuff up with it. And that's not like, that can be detrimental to the game. It can be also positive to the game if you're creating connections with people. But if you're wallowing in that too much and you're too worried about what's going back at home, you're missing things in the moment. So I did actively try and be like, you know what, I'm not. But then every time I voted, I would think about Rachel and Phoenix at home. Every time I put someone else's name, I was like, I'd look at my wedding ring, I'd give it a little kiss, and I'd be like, this is getting me one step closer to like doing something for them.
Are you serious?
Yeah. That's why you see me every time I go write someone's name down. I do that.
Dude, I'm gonna have to rewatch.
Yeah. So that was
Like
my
keeping
little
you grounded,
reminder.
like reminding.
Yeah. And I'm doing this. I'm voting this person out to get me further along, to give me a better opportunity to help them outside the game.
Who did it hurt the most for you to vote out? Like, because for some people I didn't mind, but like who were you actually voting out that you thought was actually difficult?
I didn't love when we were voting Alex. We were going to vote Alex out. I actually quite liked Alex. I thought that was difficult. The other one that I found difficult was Winner as well, because I did like Winner, but that was just where the majority of the alliance was putting their votes and stuff like that. But everyone else, like the thing is, I didn't get far enough in the game. I didn't get far enough in the game to actually have to do that. Like to actually get to the point where, I'd have to vote off Caroline and Kitty, or I'd have to vote off like someone that I really, really cared about. I wouldn't have voted at you. Like Charles, like obviously you can't go to the end with everyone.
Yeah.
But like this is where we're at. But I never got to that point where I had to. And it was a funny thing about our season.
It didn't happen a lot.
It didn't happen a lot because a lot of the time everyone else swapped except for the people that were close to each other.
Yeah.
So, and that's one thing that I was like, oh, that's one thing our season probably didn't have, was that really emotional, like you having to vote out one of the Vs and being like, this is breaking my heart, but this is what's best for my game. Or a Ray voting off a Ferris.
Oh, that's the one.
Kirby voting off Riri. Like we actually never, the fact that never actually happened out of so many deep connections was pretty crazy. Was pretty crazy.
I think that's true. I think that's the one drawback about, like, if Ray votes off Ferris, then it's a icing on the cake.
That would have been insane.
Wouldn't have. Yeah. I'm happy with the Ferris win, so that's all good. But yeah, so I mean, not really, but that's fine. So you thought about your Phoenix when you're voting, but more or less during the day, you were trying to sort of just stay sort of task oriented, focus on the game.
Yeah, 100%. And then we'd have some confessionals where
they try and suck it out of you.
Yeah, they like that. They like that. Yeah. And so
when did they start? Was that day one, or was this kind of, at
day one? I got a lot of. So how did you swing getting out here with a 10-month-old and all this sort of stuff? And what are you missing out on? What are you going to miss out on? But it got to like, do you miss like holding little Phoenix and like playing with him and all this sort of stuff? And, and I was just like, yeah.
Cute.
So
T-Lex.
So it was pretty hard.
I was keeping it together until really late, I think, until top 6, I reckon.
Yeah.
That's when I absolutely lost my mind in confessional.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was full on because you could see the end.
Oh, the
That
end
little,
of the tunnel was there.
yeah,
Yeah.
and also you're thinking, oh, they're almost here. So yeah, it.
Well, that was
In
the
some
dream.
ways,
The
it's not
dream was
good.
the loved one visit was like the dream to get both
I
Phoenix
know.
and Rach out there. Like that was the dream.
What
Obviously,
you get.
like it would have been so good.
What you get tortured. All right, I'm having so much fun in this. Is great.
So
What
good.
were your initial thoughts? I just again, I'm obsessed with initial thoughts. Go Rebels. I just wanted hit me with some just, it doesn't have to be deep and meaningful. Just like some, you're looking at the Rebels. What do you think?
I thought Alex was going to be way too much. I thought Alex was going to be bouncing off the walls, like, "Hey guys, what's happening over here?" Like, I honestly thought Alex was going to be that guy. I thought Ray
And it was you.
going. Yeah. I thought Ray was going to be really struggle. I thought Ray was going to annoy a lot of people. I thought Kirby was a huge threat the whole game.
Even when you first saw her.
Like just first initial, I was like, this girl looks intense. She looks physical. She looks
That's
like
incredible.
she's in business. And then as soon as she started, then when she's in those challenges and she started doing some of those really creative things, I was like, oh wow, this chick is like probably the biggest threat to win the game.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the guys, like Riri was pretty unassuming.
Yeah.
Scotty looked like a sort of arty, sort of fun sort of guy, and I was like, oh, I could maybe get on with Scotty. Who else we got out there? Sarah, which just looked like your classic, like pretty, like awesome,
bubbly,
happy,
surfy girl. Yep.
Yeah, girl. Ferris looked way too intense and like
really.
I thought Ferris was doing a lot. Do you remember that first interaction on the boat? Ferris was doing a lot of stuff there, and he was like really him and Tobias were really getting into it. I remember.
I thought Ferris was charming. I thought Ferris was doing the half I'm serious, half I'm joking.
Yeah, Tobias was going full.
Tobias was going full, full L.
That's true. That's very
Tobias scared the shit out of me, bro. He scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, he scared me as well. I was like, this guy.
I told him. I think I've told him that.
People apart. Yeah. That's so funny.
That's why I was so sad that Winner didn't hit the bell, because I thought I did a good job on him. Yeah. And Kelly, what do you think about Kelly straight up?
I thought, I thought she was going to be really super annoying. Like,
I thought she was going to be like super relatable.
Oh,
I thought she was going to be. I thought she was going to be like a sweet little auntie.
Do you know what
do you know
what? Honestly, what I thought? I thought
what?
She's going to be the crazy. She's going to be like the crazy out there woman. Ray's going to be the total ostracized, person who doesn't talk to anyone. I was like, I wanted to form an alliance with those two. Initially, right. I was like, this is like bouncing off, getting the people at the bottom. And I was like, if I can do it, if I can do a cross tribal alliance and I can get both of them, I felt they would be on the outs at that tribe, and I thought they would be great to scoop up and sort of build something with. But it was funny how it worked out.
Did you have any connections across tribes pre-tribe swap that you felt were more than zero?
Nah, because I never got to those. Like, I know obviously you and Ferris had the box connection and stuff like that, but all those one-on-ones, like I didn't get to do a lot of them. Where I was down pretty low in the pecking order. I was down pretty low in those pecking orders. So you didn't get those times in those border challenges where you're sort of sitting with someone being like, hey man, how you going? Right. Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, that's cool. So I just found myself, I wasn't in a position where I got to have those conversations. And outside of Matt chat and just sort of nodding at people and being like, hey, yeah. Like you try and be nice and cordial, but I never got a chance. I never was in a position where I could really talk to anyone.
Huh. Interesting. I hadn't thought about that. I had a few. Ray and I actually. Ray said to me, "Watch out for the All Boys Alliance at the swimming challenge," and I was like, "Clock that. It was pretty good."
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Pre-adrenaline dump, got that. All right, a little bit of sadness, heartbreaking to go home just before the jury. Were you prepared for the feeling of being ripped out of the game?
No. Not at all. No, it was really devastating.
Yeah.
It was like a dream being crushed, and I didn't feel like it was my time to go. I felt like I honestly couldn't believe I was waiting for production to be like, okay, now you're going to exile,
Now there's
and
exile. Yeah.
and now you're going to smash an urn, and I was just waiting for it. It wasn't until I was in the car, and they literally said, "We're going back to the hotel,"
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, so it's done.
It's done.
It's done. Yeah, and it was really upsetting.
Jesus.
Because you can't prepare for it, especially when you don't. Like, I really didn't feel like it was my time to leave right then. I felt, I felt it's like, okay, you can make a mistake, and then someone else will take the bullet, and it'll suck. But other people's stories have sort of come to close, and I feel like mine, I was just starting to build into a few things, and yeah, it was really devastating. And I honestly still don't feel like I've totally processed it a year on. Like, I still think it's going to sound really bad. I still think about it all the time.
Yeah.
Like, it's bad. It's bad. It's no good.
Yeah. I mean, dude, there's no one else who's spent so long thinking about it, and then it was a brutal, possibly, one up there in terms of
and honestly,
ripped out of the. It felt ripped out of the game to me. It was like a hunk of flesh on that Amazon, was Survivor Amazon. They're using their teeth to rip a hunk of flesh out of the meat. It really felt like that.
It did feel like, if I had at least got to the jury, I felt like I could have processed. I think I would have had fun on the jury. I would have had a lot of fun there, and I would have embraced the role of a jury member. I would have seen the whole game. I would have been involved in that. I feel like if I just had that, I feel like I could have walked away with a lot more. Like, oh yeah, I've had this whole experience, and what a ride it was. And look, I made a couple mistakes, but I got burnt. Whatever, it's fine. Because I do feel like a lot of the people that made the jury do have that sort of like awesome experience. I got to be there. It was all the way through, and this is really fun. And look, I didn't win, but whatever, that's cool. And then I feel like a lot of the people that went before me didn't really care about Survivor. They weren't. They weren't as invested in it. I don't know. Apparently Peter was a big fan, so I don't know how she processed
Frankie
it either.
too,
Actually,
Frankie,
but that was just part of me being like, really, I couldn't even see out the ending of it.
That's really tough. And but I know that JLP gave you a special little chat as you left, though, right?
Yeah, it was really nice of him. I think he recognized that it meant so much to me, and that I was there to try and make the season really good, and I was there to embrace Survivor and do things to make it fun, and do things to sort of experience the game to its fullest. And I think he really appreciates that, and it was just really nice when he could just sort of say, "Hey man, like, devastated. You were awesome. I loved watching you. Every time we came to a challenge, I just loved watching you like geek out over it and love it. And the smile that you had, I could tell that you were really enjoying it. And we really appreciated you being here. And that was a really nice moment that we had."
He never does that, right? I heard from someone that because we were all asking about the logistics of your return home with Phoenix's birthday, etc. And we later heard that you had that conversation, and apparently it's like it never happened. So
it was really nice of him. He was really good. It made me feel a lot. It helped me deal with it a lot more. It was just some form of recognition that I was just like, oh, that's actually really nice. JLP's an awesome dude. Love JLP.
Part of me wants to say to you, oh, I really hope you get back so you can end your story. But then also part of me doesn't want to say that because I want you to like try and deal with it as well and not have to rely on going back on Survivor to fix
true,
that
Mark.
hole.
That is, very wise words though, Mark. Very wise words. Because there is a part that's like, you got to do it. Like you did it. That was your chance. you had that experience and it was awesome, but you can move on with your life now.
Right? Can you imagine if you got medevaced?
Oh, dude, don't even. That would be the most painful. That would be the
Could
most
be
painful
worse.
thing ever. Yeah,
Can always be worse.
break a leg or something, and just like ripped out of the game. Doesn't matter how good.
Jackie Glazer on the
Oh,
bloody
dude.
dice of death, second time round.
Yeah,
You know?
that was rough. That's rough. That's really sad.
I mean, like, it's not to discredit your feelings, but it's you did great.
No. It's good. It's you'd really try and step back and be like, well, and you know what's funny is when I got home, I was actually super pumped and I was actually really good about it. I was like, I got to experience all this stuff. I got to be out there for 31 days. I got to do this and this, and I was telling everyone about it. It was really cool. It wasn't until the game finished and you guys all came back, and then I realized how much I missed out. And that's when it really hit me that there was all of this stuff that I didn't get to experience, that I didn't get to do.
Yeah.
Because and then that was like the next wave of that. And then when you watch it, you're watching all the episodes you're in, you're like, this is so good, rah, rah. And then you get voted out, and then you watch the episodes that you miss out on, and you're like, oh, and it hits you again, like, oh, I missed out on this and this and this and this. Yeah, it's crazy.
How did you watch episode 1?
I booked out a cinema at
Mm-hmm.
obviously working in the cinema, so I got it hooked up, and all the Melbourne guys came down. We brought friends and family.
Everyone in Melbourne came down.
Everyone in Melbourne came. So all the Melbourne cast, and brought a whole bunch of friends and family, and we did a huge cinema screening. And I got tiki torches down the aisles of the cinemas, and I did a little speech at the start, and people dressed up.
Oh, you gave a speech?
Awesome. Yeah. I gave like a thank you speech, and I did a shout out to all the contestants, like, where's my Eileen supporters, where's our this supporters, and we went through everything, so everyone had a moment. It was really fun. It was a really fun way to watch.
You must have had a crew. So you had you, Eileen, Caro.
So I had me, Caro, Eileen, and then Kirby had all her team, but then we also Scotty came. Scotty brought a couple of people up from Tassie. Ray came down just solo. Charles came and brought all his mates. Jess came and brought all her mates. It was good. It was huge. It was 350 people. Yeah,
that's massive.
It was great. It was really
fun. And were you nervous about the brick in the face, as we were warned about? You know, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I wasn't nervous because I knew what I had given. I knew what I'd put out there. So I was pretty happy. Look, in the grand scheme of thing, when I looked at everything, what I thought my edit would be and what my edit ended up being was very different. But I just knew those first couple of episodes, everything that I put out there would be pretty strong. And I couldn't think of how it would be changed up or anything like that. So the first episode I was really confident in. And I was like, this will be good. This will be good. So I was happy to do it for that, because there were plenty of other episodes where I was like, wow, okay, that's an interesting take on this conversation. Yeah. So it was interesting.
There's no better episode. The first or last probably is the one you want the best edit in. So if it ain't the last, it's the first.
It's true. It's true. The merge episode's another good one. You want a good one on the merge episode as well.
Oh, so don't get me started on the bloody merge. Well, I was going to ask you what were your thoughts about watching the post-merge game, but it kind of seems like a sensitive topic. But is there anything about the rest of the game that you want to comment on, like the post-Eden era?
It was good. Like everyone, like from a fan, I would have liked, and this is just morbidness. I would have liked to have seen some people have to turn on each other to get to really be like, I have to make this decision. Like that would have been some really amazing television. Like it's horrific, but it would have been like, this is what I need to do now to get further in the game. And I think the closest we got to that was sort of the Kirby and Ferris, but I think they knew that they had to take each other out at some point anyway. It's just who's going to get there first.
I think maybe the unintended irony of Kitty's departure might make it, but and it's not a criticism of Caroline. I think she did the right thing, but the way that that
Oh yeah,
the
if it
mechanics
played
of
out
that,
differently.
the way if that had played out differently, that could have, you know,
Yeah.
like the way that it played. Sorry, the way that it played out was an
Yeah.
unintended consequence. But it didn't have the satisfaction that you're looking for. You want that dark,
But no, you just
dark.
want that you want that people to
I
have to
know
make
the
that decision.
intentionality.
You know
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I know
It's
what you mean.
brutal, but it's no. I think everyone was trying to do stuff, which I really
Mm,
appreciated. And there was a lot of people that would like had some plans and wanted to do things, and I
mm,
really appreciated that aspect of the the post jury sort of section of the game, and that was good,
mm,
and that was entertaining, and that was really fun.
mm.
And it didn't become a pagonging or anything like that. Like that was good. That was really good.
Yeah,
I thought that was exciting.
it actually, there was a Alex, Kitty, 3 in a row. It was kind of actually an old school. When you think about it, it was an old school. Get the strength, get the
Get the
challenge
threats
fist
out.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jaden
it's
before
actually
that.
quite.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's quite.
it was
When
really
you step
Eileen. It
back,
was just
yeah,
really Eileen before that. That was sort of.
yeah.
I thought that was a really interesting vote, that Eileen vote, and I think that
Mm.
yeah, I think Eileen. I'll have to talk to her about that at some point. 'Cause I think I just honestly think she obviously was a big fan as well, and so for her to go out in
Mm,
that situation, I think for her at least getting onto jury and being able to experience that other game was really good.
mm.
But I was always really confused. I always felt that Ferris was fine with Eileen going home,
He was a
and
bit.
I always felt that, and I was, but then Eileen didn't feel that, and I was like, no, I think.
No, actually, I don't. I think Ferris was upset. He was super upset. I think he really
Mm,
was. He just didn't show.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, interesting.
it's hard to tell. From they got to tell
Yeah,
a
people
story.
are lying at you and stuff, Mark. It's outrageous.
Mate, this is why it's called Beyond the Edit. How do you want to engage with future Survivor players now that you are both the biggest Australian Survivor superfan and an alumni?
It's so good.
What are you going
I
to do?
just love,
When the next cast comes out, what are you going to do?
mate. I am going to be an open platform for anyone that wants advice or discussions. I just love talking about Survivor, and I love being an alumni. So I'm very open to having any of those conversations and just helping people out where I can, like helping, especially maybe people that didn't do as well as they wanted to, or
Mm.
people that having trouble with dealing with that. Hopefully, I've processed it enough
Dude,
to have
this
some
story will
advice
help. I seriously think this is
on.
going to help.
Yeah, I know. And so I think being that and helping other people deal and maybe process that would be,
Mm.
I'd be very happy to be that. But also just to talk through. I'm really excited to see the new season. Like it'll be
Man, I
really fun
can't
to
wait.
watch.
I
It'll be
can't
really
wait.
good.
Oh, are you going to Are you going to offer up the cinema?
Yeah, I'll do a big party.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Oh, that's really cool. I'm feeling the same.
Mm.
All right. So, not including yourself.
Mm.
Hold on. What is my question here? Not including yourself. Name 5 people that you want to see play Australian Survivor again, but they can only have played once. So no
Okay,
George,
that's
no
good.
Shawnee, no Golden God. Name
Yeah,
5, and you
that's right.
can't. No
So
Eden Porter.
no input. That's right. I like. This is going to sound really bad,
Why?
but I think you would be. It's going to sound brown
Oh,
nosing, but I think you would be.
dude! I
You'd
was
be
not
fascinated.
expecting that at all.
No. Honestly, I'm looking back at all the players, and for someone like you, the fallen angel position, coming in third, doing everything that you did, and trying like you threw a lot of stuff at the wall, and
Mm,
some things worked, some things didn't. But that's what I really appreciate. And I feel like, yeah, I feel like I would like to see you in a different scenario with a different group of people, and have to work through that. I think it would be very interesting. And so
bro, thank you.
you're definitely right up there, mate.
I was not expecting that at all. So thank you.
That's
I
fine.
was
No.
really.
It's good. It's good.
I had a list in my head that I thought you'd say it, and I wasn't on it. So yeah, okay,
No,
cool.
I think staying with our season.
Mhm.
I think the other person that I would really like to see play again is Kirby. I don't know, she's on a
Mm.
lot of people's lists. I
Mhm.
think she thought about the game a really interesting way. She obviously went in not knowing it, and now she does
Mm.
know it. And so I
Mm.
just would be really interested to see how that affects her
Yep.
mentally, and whether she tries to overplay her hand or whether she falls into the same sort of trick. Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Mm.
I also really like. Do you remember Sarah
I
Talik?
do. Talika. How could you forget?
I loved Sarah when she played, and I thought she was
Mhm.
fantastic. And I would love to see her play again. I think she's got the smarts. She's tough. She's
Mhm.
sassy. I just think she's got a lot going on, and I think
Mhm.
I would love to see her play again. On the same track, Benji. I thought
Benji.
Benji.
I was
Benji was
thinking you
really
were going to say Benji number one. He's my number one.
He's up there. He's up there. He's up there. I think he he had a really quiet like pre-merge, and then he just exploded as a character sort
Mm.
of at that midway point, and he just let loose and was like, you know what, I'm just going to start doing stuff. And it
Yeah.
was really interesting. And again, I really respect people that are trying things and mixing things up and doing stuff. So he'd be right up there for me. Matt is
Matt
another
Tarrant.
one. Yeah. I think Matt would be
He's
really.
played
I think
twice. Has he not? No, he's played once.
No, he's played
Oh
once. He's
shit.
only played once.
Played
Yeah,
once.
Matt's only played
Yeah.
once. Basically everyone else in his sort of archetype, I think they filled all those spots.
Ah,
Yeah, Harry's and your Nicks and these sort of
yeah.
people. And I think he was unlucky not to play again. I think
Mm,
again, really interesting guy, great
interesting.
attitude.
Yeah.
Just everything I've heard from him and chatted to him as well. I just think I think he's got more to show.
Yeah.
And I think the
A bit
game's
of life experience, maybe.
yeah, and I think the game has developed and evolved to a point now that some of these players, I think you can approach the game a lot differently to when, like 2016, if you weren't pulling your
Yeah.
weight in the challenges or building the camp, it's like, oh, you're useless to us and that sort of stuff. Now there's a lot more nuances to
Yeah.
it. There's a lot more happening underneath, which I think so he would be really good. And get Christy back.
Oh,
First winner.
winner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get her back. I would love to see that legacy come back and have another crack at it. I think
It is surprising. It is a bit surprising.
It's our first winner and a pretty iconic
Yeah.
situation to win as well. I think it would be really cool to see her how she's evolved as well.
I totally agree. And then she's still kind of connected as well with the community.
Yeah, she's still connected.
Keen.
She's still
Yeah.
Is there anyone else that I didn't have that maybe you thought would be up there?
I hadn't given it a huge amount of thought. I really liked I really love Khan. I think Khan is
Oh,
a
okay.
fantastic player. But I think he's probably I don't know. He might be bigger than Survivor, so he may not. I just think that in terms of a character, I thought Khan was potentially one of my
He's a good character.
most favorite
He's a good
Australian
character.
Survivor players, and Danny, the prison lady from Brains v
Yeah,
Brawn.
Brains versus Bronze. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say Danny and Khan. So yeah, both outback players. But yeah, they're the two that I would have called out that I'd be jonesing for. Who do you think from American Survivor, should there ever be a international crossover? I'm gonna cap you at one.
I could only
US
bring one
player.
person from
Yeah,
US
let's say the setup is it's like the Sandra. Well, no, that was different because it was blood versus water.
Blood
But
versus
you know,
water.
like a Russell. When they brought Russell out, you know, who would you like to see play Australian Survivor?
They're so. Oh, you can't say one.
Okay, you get
person.
two. You get two.
A
Man and a woman. A man and a woman.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's good. Is the question who I think?
No, who do you want?
It's just
who do you
want?
Yeah, dream pick, no constraints. Money's
I'd love Johnny Fairplay to come out. I would love Johnny Fairplay to come out. I think it'd be really fun. I don't think he's going to come back. He deserves it. I think he would be so much fun. He'd be a wild competitor. It would be really fun. And then, okay, a woman. Oh my god, How deep do we want to go? Imagine T-Bird.
Oh, you go on T-Bird style.
Like that
Yeah.
would be so fun. She would be, because you want someone also, like if they're coming over being the only one, you've got to be personable in some sort of way. You've got to be able to make connections, because otherwise you do get isolated. Like a Kelly Wentworth would be really
Oh,
good as well.
mate.
Like I love Kelly. She'd be awesome.
I think Kelly and Fairplay seem to be two of the most engaged with Australian
Yeah, I would
Survivor,
agree with that. I would agree
and
with
so it's
that.
hard to not. It's hard to not go with those two. I'm trying to
I
think of
know,
someone
they're
else.
right up there. They're right up there.
Could you imagine? Oh my god, how incredible, dude! What was it like meeting Johnny Fairplay?
It was so good, man. It was the best. It was like a dream come true. It's like I vividly remember watching Pearl Islands at home,
Yeah,
and then meeting him all these years later. It was just like, this is such a like. I remember I told my little brother, and he lost his shit. I sent him a photo of me and Johnny Fairplay, and he was like, "What is happening? What the fuck?" And it was just, it was just one of those things that you would just never think would happen in your brain. You just don't think it would come like it. Yeah, it seems like a glitch in the matrix that my life would get to this opportunity where you could hang out with Johnny Fairplay.
So how did you hang out with him? Was it just at the pub, or did you?
So it was just the pub. Yeah, because he was coming out for the for his screenings and stuff like that. So we got to meet up at the pub and just hang out and just talk Survivor, talk life, talk experiences, talk other shows and everything like that. It was just fun. He can just talk. He can just talk about anything. So it was great just to sit down. Yeah, big time. Just to be able to sit down like that and just have a big chat was so awesome. It was so awesome, man.
He's a great guy. When I met Johnny, it was I'd had lunch with George because George was traveling with Johnny, and then I think Fairplay was coming in from the airport, and so we went to his hotel. Jerry was there, George was there, Fairplay was there, Fairplay's friend was there, Jerry's wife was there, George's boyfriend was there, and then and we had like time to kill before there was this awkward moment between hotel and pub. There was too much time, and I wasn't working, and on the spur of the moment, I just said, "All right, everyone, you're coming back to my place." So we went to the bottle shop. Into the bottle shop. I think George bought a bottle of vodka. We got some. Like, it was so university days. We just loaded up with booze, went back to my place, shots of vodka. Caroline came over.
So awesome.
It was just wild. It was just so wild. I think I gave Johnny Fairplay some Vegemite on toast, a few other different things, and then off to the pub we went with my wig on. Garrick met us at the pub, and it all went from there. So yeah, but it was so much fun. I've got this great photo of me and Johnny at my place. Almost dressed the same. It's so good. So yeah, no, shout out to Mr. Fairplay, mate. That's it. It's 2.5 hours. I'm all out. Any other burning questions you got for me, or anything 47's about to come out? I assume you'll be watching it. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. Fun to see a new bunch of Survivor contestants taking it on. I think it'll be they're good, and I think this was awesome, Mark. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. Love sitting down and having a big catch up. It's just fun, man. It's just fun talking.
Man. I love it too. I loved every minute. Mate, give us a shout out for your social media handles, including the Game Boys Comedy.
You can find Game Boys Comedy on Game Boys Comedy on YouTube, Insta, all of that. Otherwise, you can follow me on Twitter at Eden Porter or on Insta at Eden Porter 1. Just check it out. I've got a few things on. Got a comedy show coming up. Doing some fun things. Doing some hosting of some events. So follow me and find out everything I'm doing. But thank you so much.
Bro, this is episode 3. It'll be on the edit. Much longer than the other 2, but that's all good because Eden's a special guest. Mark T. Warnock, hit me up on Instagram. And I can't even remember my Twitter handle, but I always use #Survivor or #SurvivorAU. That's find me via the hashtag. So yeah, thanks so much for listening. If you made it this far, I hope you've enjoyed it. Give me your feedback and stay tuned for the next episode. It'll be coming to you soon. Catch ya.
Bye.